Oh, here we go.
Hello.
Hello, hello everyone. We walk straight into a conversation.
I was just explaining to Mitch that this used to happen to me and Bender a lot when Mullock would unmute, and we would be like in the midst of a very, very casual conversation between us, and he would catch us out sometimes. And yeah, there you go. It just happened to us.
You have been caught, but that is okay. That is okay. How are you doing tonight, gentlemen?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Oh yeah, keeping on. Doing some last minute technical work as Scott Blair fixes up some stuff while he's doing his practice. So we're doing good there.
We have yet another beautiful lockdown on our hands.
We do.
Oh well, what do? You just sim race, I suppose.
I just look. I mean, of all groups of people, I suppose we find our ways to manage.
Oh, we're sorted. I'm sorted. Like my job requires me to still work full time. Like I haven't had a day off from COVID, and then weekends is just like video games. So my life doesn't really change a whole lot in lockdowns. But obviously, it's a lot harder for a bunch of other people who have to work from home, and that can be pretty mentally exhausting. I hear.
Yeah, that is fair. I've been watching it. And Hobbsy, we haven't heard from you though. How are you doing tonight?
I completely just took his.
Look, I'm here. I'm good. Sorry, I was good up until about 4:15 this afternoon. But other than that, yeah, pretty good. Looking forward to 1 hour, 1 hours of Misano. It's going to be very exciting.
What happened at 4:30, mate? Oh, is it just the announcement? Is that?
Oh, look, it got worse. Like it was 7 days lockdown, and then they're saying, and for anyone who watched it, they'll know where I live. But they said that there's COVID in our sewerage here. So look, not good.
Right. For a moment, I'm like, you live in the sewers? No. The sewage.
I basically do. Like, where I live, we have our own sewage farm, and outsiders often say that the town smells like poop.
Oh, yeah.
I only ever smell it when, like, the fertilizer trucks come past for, like, all of the farms that we've got in the south end of town. But, yeah, apparently suburb smells like poop. I don't smell it, but we have a sewage farm, so I'll believe them.
So, are you telling us that you smell like sewage, bro?
Look, I probably smell worse.
Yeah, right.
I reckon my suburb holds its nose when I walk outside.
Yeah, righto.
You've got to have an impact one way or another, right?
That's right.
And I do have, I think, an apology for all of chat. So I've only just discovered that YouTube has the difference between top chat and live chat.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So I just wasn't. Right, so there's probably just been a whole bunch of messages that I've apparently just ignored every week.
Oh, look, absolutely. There probably is, but, that's fine.
So my apologies for that. We will do better. All right. Either way, we are into a qualifying session. And this will be the first full flying laps. Misano brings out mixed feelings amongst people, I think.
I think it really depends on the car that you're in.
Yeah.
It feels like that with a lot of tracks, though. But yeah, Misano is a real killer for a lot of cars, and people just complain a lot. There's been a lot of complaints coming from guys in the GTR, so I'm curious to see how Reynolds fares tonight, being one of those GTR drivers. I was in the Beamer last night, but I'm always crap, so I complain about the car, but it's probably not the car's fault.
I feel like Misano is a brutal track if you haven't practiced, because it's not like, I feel like a Spa or something like that. Everyone's got such a good take of how the track flows, where your braking zones are, but Misano is one of the few, I think, in GT3s where it really starts to become about carrying speed through corners in some of the cases, because a lot of them are kind of break, turn, go, and that is the GT3 way. Or maybe I'm just seeing something that is in my mind only. Does that make sense, or am I delusional?
Yeah, look, you're delusional most weeks.
Look, yeah, I was going to say you're delusional anyway, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah, that's fair. But something like, so turn 1 into turn 2 is this kind of very delicate kind of balance. Power onto brakes, how much brakes, tap back on the power, try and rotate the car again. Turn 3, you've got to carry just enough speed, just really nail that right. Here, he's watching this, what's that, turn 5 and 6. Very difficult power applications, carry enough speed and getting on the power early enough. Like, the flow's kind of just a little bit, I wouldn't say, it's a touch uncomfortable, and takes that practice to really get yourself feeling it, especially if the car's not giving you much feedback between alive and dead.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're talking about. Like, as you were saying, with Spa, you know the flow of the track and you know the braking points. Whenever I jump in a new car, I usually go straight to Spa to get an idea of exactly how the car feels to drive, because I know how to drive the track. I know that track like the back of my hand. I know it better than any other track, but the car is always a different story. So that's always like my tester track to see how the car fares in different kinds of corners and different scenarios and whatnot.
Yep. Yeah, whereas I feel like, well, so I mean, as a litmus, I did almost no practice, was doing kind of 137s start. By the end of the race, I was getting
That's actually not too good, Saxon.
No, it's not too good. I was getting it down to a low 135 by the end, which is about as good as I've ever really done here at Misano. As we see Blair consolidate his 133 to the 133.3. And then gets pipped by McCourt with a 133 flat. Yes, I was a long way off the pace, but the practice. It's one of those tracks though. With that practice, you start to see your times get better and better and better. So, I think it's really good in that regard. Of you can feel that improvement. Whereas some tracks you just kind of hit a wall and you don't really know where to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. So we are seeing some pretty quick times coming through at the moment. 33 flat is pretty blistering. To give people a gauge, I think the fastest time we've seen this week around this circuit was last night by O'Hara. He said a 32.598.
Just a little bit disgusting.
To beat that.
And I think it's, maybe to borrow a term from some other stuff, maybe it's a track with a very high skill cap, if that makes sense. If you get it really, really right and you can execute really well, then there's just more and more and more time to be found. And if you don't, then you're really going to be missing out on a lot. So you see here, just tricky corners all around at 13. Get the power down early enough here. This is Reynolds. He is 8/10 up. So come into onto the exit. In on the final corner. How much does he want to cut? Pretty hard. You can cut more than that. But kicks it out wide. Oh, here we kicking himself a little bit on that one, but looks like new set of tyres, he'll get back out. JP, half second up on his current lap time.
That's John, not JP. Good try.
Oh, it is too. My apologies.
There are two Senekas.
I just see Jay Senekas, and I assume.
Can't assume, mate.
No, I can't. JP hasn't actually done the lap yet. Or at least he's so far down the order that he basically hasn't. So we will see. So we see John Senekas in the time that I've taken to look away, he's lost that half second that he had gained. So it's always promising that you've got opportunities, but or did he complete his lap and jump up and I'm just?
He completed his lap and went up to P5 and then dropped back down to P6.
Yeah, time's coming in thick and fast. Blair's back out there. And I think this is still his first set of tyres. So we'll often see drivers duck in halfway through, get a fresh set. On a 15-minute qualifying on a fairly short course, he just runs wide there and invalidates his lap, unfortunately. And indeed, there we go. Unfortunately sad. So go ahead.
Just another vice of this circuit is very easy to run wide in a lot of corners in Validate. This one in particular, you get on the throttle a little too early, you're going to swing very wide. You exceed those curbs, you invalidate. As we've just seen Robert Shaw use every single pixel available of the circuit. Particularly turn 6 as well is one where you do not want to run wide. Not only will you invalidate, but there's little sausage curbs on the outside there, and it'll unsettle the car a lot. You'll lose a lot of time.
It really is so many of these corners is how much speed are you willing to take and how much extra track are you able to find that is within reason, both on the inside of the corner and the outside. Oh, this is a tough one.
that corner there, also a very big one. You carry a lot of speed through there, and it seems like every time you go through there, you try and carry a little bit more each time until you find the limit. And then once you find the limit, you kind of back to square one. You've got to try and find that limit again. So Robert Shaw, 4/10 up, a little bit of impedance on the lap, unfortunately, but still good enough for P7.
Yeah,
who we usually see towards the top of the field, currently sitting P11. Only good enough for 3/10 up at the moment. Still plenty more of the circuit to go.
And you can see in the bottom left, 3/10 is still going to grab him a number of positions. He only needs a couple of hundredths to get a couple. So it's very, very cutthroat. And it looks like he'll be a better part of 3/10 in the end there. Jumps himself up into P7 with 3 thousandths ahead of Robert Shaw in P8. So we get into some tight margins. A bit further down the order, we've got Sasana. Currently a 1:35 flat, but he's got a half second up. Porsche, not sure how it fares around here. Let's see. You have to be so conservative sometimes and not too eager to take the apex. Some of these corners here as they go through, what's that, Tramonto. A lot of the drivers will actually run that quite wide, but some of the cars I noticed would cut across and make it a double apex. Just depends on how hard you can turn the car around. Doesn't seem to be the fastest way, except in maybe some very free rotating vehicles. What we will certainly see, as we see a BMW try and find maybe a little bit of extra road, into the race, as it will go into the evening, we will almost certainly see a few drivers miss the turn at miss the braking point going into turn 13. Very easy to get that wrong, and I think we'll see a few tears. Sasana pops himself up into P20, a little bit of a gain there, gets himself into the 134s. We're feeling a bit better. Got Paul Britt about to finish his lap at 4/10 up. Jump in from P12 to P6, immediately loses to P7 to, I think that was Gallo behind him that just grabbed that. So it's all coming in thick and fast. Reynolds here takes a good bit of inside curb. It's an interesting one as well, that corner. It's that turn 8 cambers in quite a lot. So the tighter in you get it, the better off you are. Which you can make for some big mistakes if people are chasing a line that they're no longer able to make, trying to carry too much power, they're not getting the extra cambering, they're going to run even wider again, and it kind of cascades out. As you can see, Reynolds just littering around with the wheel, trying to keep that under control.
That was close to track limits there. That was on the edge of them. Use all of the track though.
Might not be the most tidy lap we've ever seen, but he is 6.5 up, which is going to pump him up the order, possibly top 10. Oh, only 12. Only good enough for 12. 300ths behind Honor.
Yeah, I mean, all the way down the order, very small differences. So pretty much if you can come across the line and gain at least a 10th, in most of these drivers' cases, you're gaining at least one spot. So we see an Audi ahead of Van Vliet. It's a little bit wrong. I think he's going to set himself up. You can see that, the 186 car up in the top left. He's going to set himself up, find some space. Oh no, teleports pits, there you go. You'll have to be quick. Anyone coming out of the pits now has got to complete that lap. And then get on the flyer on it. It's a long old pit exit. See Van Vliet there really fighting with the car. Did make his job, I think, a tiny bit harder than it needed to be, coming in a little bit narrow into turn 13, but he's still on for a pretty respectable time because the car just wants to turn, and I think he's trying to manage a bit of oversteer, it looked like, when he tipped it in. Still, 3/10 gain, 134 flat or thereabouts is his time. He's got one more chance to do a bit better up the front. Blair, 3/10 clear, 4/10 clear, very early in the lap, but a lot of your gains do come in those first few corners, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. If you nail those lines through those corners, it can pay dividends in the end. But then you've got the rest of the lap ahead of you to make sure you keep getting it right. And when you see a delta like that, you don't want to just cruise through and make sure that you get it right. You want to keep trying to find that delta. And that's where mistakes can happen. Apparently, Blair's still looking very tidy.
Mistakes are the worst, especially around this track because you know the time's there. A bit of a shoddy exit, loses a 10th and a half. It's not what you love to see. Loses a bit more around the second to last. See if he can gain it all in the final. Didn't take as much curb as I'd advise. Still gains time though. It's not going to be enough for pole. Puts him P2, just under a 10th off.
Got enough time for one more lap as well.
Does indeed. So you see Nichols coming in to finish his lap. Currently in P13. He's a second off the pace. He's got a 10th up his sleeve. He needs another one to gain that extra position. And he does invalidate, trying to find that cutting a little bit too tight. And he will run out of time across the line to get one more in. So he will stay as he is. Bruno Gallo. It's going to be one of our later finishes. There's a few more behind him that will have another run. But he's found a bit more. Right now you can see him slotted in there in P6. Needs a half 10th for P5. Needs a whole lot more for P4.
Oh, this could be close if he can just nail this final sector. Oh, loses a bit of time through there. Can he nail the final corner if he can find that extra 10th? If he loses time, so he's not going to find that. It's going to put him up. Top 3 maybe?
P5.
Oh, and he fit. Wow, that's close. Have a look at that top 5 though. Wow.
It is brutally close. So the last driver's coming through. Blair needs 1/10. If he could find just the 1/10 here, and I think he might have had to half lift there. He only finds half a 10th.
Oh, so close.
Who have we got left? Last across the line is going to be car 38. I'll see if I can find them really quickly in my list. There's Matt Keane, who's unfortunately not on a gain at this point, but
he's finished anyway.
He is finished. There you go. So, Kitching with a 132.8, which is super quick, takes the pole position from Blair by less than a 10th. And the rest of the order,
Boo, no rain. Boo.
That's true.
Well, we've got an hour. We've got an hour to cross our fingers for rain.
That's, 15-15, no wind, not really rainy looking weather. Not expecting any rain at the moment. Would be nice if it came though, that'd make things interesting, but you know, can't always get what we wish for.
It is actually a surprisingly beautiful track at night in the wet. If you haven't experienced it, do a couple of laps. It's nice with the lights all glistening off the asphalt.
It's just another reason to sign up for the Midnight at Misano 8-hour race coming up in a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's going to be brutal. It does. Because I think we did last season, we commentated on a rain race here.
Did we? I'm trying to think if we did.
I think we did.
Yeah.
And it was...
It was it was a mess. It was a safety car, that's right. Let's see if this lives up to its expectations.
Dieball's in the chat bad-mouthing Mullock, saying he's P28. He's actually P20.
Wow, Raggy just saying Mullock's washed.
He's P20, 20, not 28.
She's going to say 20.
Right. And to be clear, in the race tonight, we have 37 drivers starting. As always, you can check out on Pitwall and get the full view of exactly what's going on. As I make sure I've got mine going. There we go. Fantastic. Safety car comes through.
Lovely safety car.
So a 9 PM start you can see up in the top centre. Simulated time. It's a regular time rate as well, so it's not accelerated or anything like that. So this will go 9 through 10, which will dip into darkness very quickly.
Alright. let's see. Kitching's on pole. He's come from the start of the season being an AM to being on pole in pro. That is, wow, what's the word? Unbelievable.
It's progression, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Diabol's dared us to commentators curse Malek. It's not much of a dare, right?
Look, I haven't done
Usually-
it. It wouldn't be the first time for me. I'm going to be honest. I've done it before. I still remember Suzuka last season.
I feel like most
I
dares,
curse-
you're daring someone to do something that they wouldn't
They
otherwise
just
do.
yeah, no, yeah.
Right? It's-
Yeah, look, he didn't have the most fantastic race at Donington a couple of weeks back either, so I do want to see him have a good race. He's been out of action for a while, and being so busy with running the league and everything is he misses out on a lot of the events that we have. So I just want to see him do well just once, and then next week onwards, we can destroy him.
That's fair. And we want to see everyone do well. Well, Kitching, better get those headlights on, mate. There's a couple of drivers without their lights on. That will get you a penalty.
This is why you just have auto headlights on.
Yeah, see, I made up a button box the other day, and I started looking for things to bind to it. So I now have manual headlights, and I can't remember what buttons they are.
Absolutely beautiful button box, by the way.
Oh, it
Jamie.
is.
It looks a lot worse in person than what it actually is, but I'll take it. It's fine.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go too far with mine. I'm gonna buy some really nice timber and like.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a woodwork nerd for a moment. Get a like a nice continuous grain box and like just,
Oh god.
and some fancy buttons and lights and switches and stuff. We'll see how it turns out. It's probably gonna be crap. It'll be like Homer Simpson's spice rack.
Well, I could send you the links to some of the stuff that I bought, because I found the switches had a very nice feel to them. But anyway, this will have to wait. We are about to go racing. One of you two guys gets to call this out.
Yeah, look, I can take this one if you like.
All yours.
Kitching and Blair leading the way. Sneakers just behind. With Laporte on side. Looks like they're away pretty similarly at the front there. Kitching's going to have the inside line. However, Blair is going to have a good line coming into turn 2. No, he's filed in. He's going to let that one go straight away. It's not worth taking. We've got 3 wide at the back. This is absolutely dangerous. There is absolute chaos at the back. We've got a Porsche around. We have a Bentley around. That is the Porsche of Van Vliet, possibly. On board with Lewis. A little bit of mayhem back. Not quite enough to start to trigger a safety car. Just as we get onto the back straight, this is where the track really opens up, and you're going to see a lot of cars jostling for position, trying to find that inside line. It's very easy to miss your braking point coming into this corner when there's so many cars in the way. Seems like they're getting through very cleanly. We've still got some cars going too wide. Nichols having a look around the outside. Doesn't quite make it work, but he is pushing ahead.
So easy, and we've seen it a couple of times. Cars can just get stranded, not finding the right line. Someone comes up along the other side, tries to take a position off you. You move for them. Someone comes on the other side again and tries to take a position. It's very, very difficult. And I think Sasana, the Lamborghini of green has just fallen victim to that and lost a couple of positions. All in all, though, a reasonably safe, fair start. Kitching has found his headlights. They are on. He's in the lead. He's clear of Blair, but not by much. Any big
Diabol's
movers?
in-
I see.
Yeah, Diabol's in chat saying Mullock has he's made 5 positions in that first starting sequence, so really well done by him. Not easy to jostle through the traffic at the start of that race because it's such a tight track and it is very quick left-right, left-handers and into a very heavy braking zone as well. Yeah, to find those 5 positions very early on must have had a pretty glorious start.
We've all seen mistakes made in some of these races, but you've got to be there to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. Here we see. Oh no!
Oh,
It's gone a bit sideways.
I saw that coming. That's just a tap there from Britt on
Oh,
Reynolds.
that-
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh, that might be a safety car.
That is
If
brutal.
That could be safety car call. That BMW of John Sneakers. That is. Let's just watch it. Yeah.
He's just been caught up in it. Nothing he can do. The front end's destroyed. This Jag has tried to avoid. The Porsche's gone. He's done about 200 full rotations of that car, and it is not going to be healthy.
Yeah, that Beamer really couldn't catch a break there. That was Bit of pinball going on.
I don't know what angle this wheel's going to be at.
A disgusting one, I guess.
It's almost upside down.
It's almost non-existent.
So, Nikas, you're telling me that you made a time machine out of a BMW?
Yes.
Those wheels are sideways.
That is all over the place. Oh, that... And like there was absolutely nothing he could do to avoid it. It's not his fault at all. It all went pear-shaped. But we race on. Hopefully we can get the car repaired at least and still get out there and put out some laps. He's not going to be the only one to be involved in incidents, so there is always positions to race for. No safety car. It does look like some of the damage was big, but only a couple of cars really got beat up, I think. It's always a tough call. Gap's starting to form though, so we've got this kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 gap. So Sneakers just on the tail of McCourt with Blair and Kitching ahead, and a 1.5 second gap to Gallo behind Lamb, trying to stay with him. The toe can be very impactful depending on how cars have been set up here, because you do have some tight twisty sections where you do want all the aero you can get, and then that drag down the long straight can really hurt you. So usually you'll see drivers stick with it in the toe, and if you lose it, you're at a pretty significant disadvantage. One that is going on is Robert Shaw on Sibiris. And I jumped to that expecting just to see a bit of a tailing, not an immediate move, so they're not messing around. Know the camera's on them, straight into the action, show it to the fans.
Content.
And that has been provided as we see the sparks fly. As people cut across the corners, we'll be seeing that all night. Sometimes you wonder if it's a team orders, and I think in that case it absolutely was not. Robert Shaw did make that move stick though.
Yeah, as the season's gone on, it kind of seems like teammates have become less and less relevant.
Yeah.
You usually...
it's very quickly turned into an every man for himself kind of race, man and woman.
Yeah, I feel like the fellow Odyssey guys, I try not to try extra hard not to run into.
Oh no, screw you guys! It's Sprint Series. I'm here for me. I'll do endurances with you guys, and I'll enjoy my time with you guys and be nice to you guys then. But when it's Sprint Series, you better stay the hell out of my way, and I will be the best blue flag you have ever come across.
That's an approach. The problem was most of the season I'd find myself up with Withers, who's my 3-hour teammate. So gotta be a bit of extra careful, otherwise, you know, on the Saturday, Sunday, it's gonna be a more serious discussion. Either way, there's no love lost, I think, between a lot of these drivers. Let's have a look a bit further down. So we've got a fair bit of punchy action going on. Yeah, Keane just lost a position to Sharp as we tuned in by the looks of things. Phillips and Mitchell behind. They're all getting involved as well, I think. See that BMW in the pits. It wouldn't shock me if that is still trying to get it repaired.
Oh, it's just absolutely been hammered on that.
That's Hemi Bateman actually. So I think he's got a tech issue because I don't think he actually took the start. And indeed, he's been in the pits for 16 minutes. So looks like some sort of concerns there. Raggy, good point in the chat. Don't burn your bridges. You're going to see them all again next week. You don't want anyone with a vendetta. I can see just up ahead, actually. There's a few moves here going on here. Is that... I think that is a blue flag.
From an Audi, is it?
I think it's actually a blue flagged Audi.
I thought it was a mistake.
I think that is Neil Wood. Yeah,
that's
indeed.
Neil Wood, okay.
So I think he has already taken his pit stop, was involved in that earlier collision, as you can see Britt was as well, and Zach James. It's pretty much the only reason you would pit early here, because it is a brutal track on tyres. Philippa has a vendetta on Kunos for disconnecting her again. I think it's like
that's what happened.
1 in 3 disconnection rate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I was actually in TeamSpeak with Bokita last night during the race, and she was saying, did the server just crash? Is something wrong with the server? I'm like, no, everything seems fine. She's like, well, all the cars are frozen around me, and then see you later, Bokita. Bokita's out of the race.
Yeah.
2 laps down on the rejoin, so it's super unfortunate. And no pit stop served. Just to add insult to injury.
Oh, that is the worst. But for the moment, as the sun goes down, top 4 continuing to stay with each other. Gallo slowly drifting a little bit further behind. He's another second from when we last commented on that. Lamb is about another 3/10 back on him from that. It's a big gap to Robert Shaw. Sabiris is holding on to that position. We jumped in earlier and saw Robert Shaw gain P7 off Sabiris, but he hasn't gapped him, and part of that may be how powerful this toe is. We can even do a bit of chase action. Sabiris pretty comfortably able to stay with him. Arguably taking maybe slightly better lines as well. Tough track to overtake on a lot of the time. Does get a wider entry in. And coming into the last corner, maybe takes a little bit more track. So to my eyes, his line seemed very, very good. Maybe a touch better than Robert Shaw, but Robert Shaw was able to get the power down earlier, which is what matters at the end of the day. As you can see, you can absolutely murder some of these corners as long as your car can handle the anti-cut curbing.
You can't murder the curbs in all the cars, though.
No, some of them, the curbs murder you. And these anti-cut curbing that we're about to see, well, anti-run wide curbing here, those, I remember in the Audi, are death machines.
Don't get me started.
The BMW is actually pretty okay with them, though.
Well, the BMW is literally just a huge barge. What do you expect?
What a beautiful barge it is. So here, so that's the one I was talking about earlier in Tremonto. That first one, cars will come in very, very wide, and it's all about that final apex and getting the speed here. So this is what I wanted to see, how that gap opens up, although Sabiris is starting to fall a bit too far behind. 9/10. It's probably a bit much for the toe here. Kind of want to be within about 6 or 7/10 to get much out of it. Okay, maybe just starting to drift. A bit further down the grid, we've got boats on green. Green leading the AM class at this point in time. Pignata wouldn't mind getting involved in this one as well.
I think there's also a bit of a battle for P3 forming at the moment towards the top of the pack with Sneakers.
Yeah, they've all been together for a while. Let's have a look. I think it's just waiting for a mistake, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but are any of these blokes going to make a mistake? I don't know. They've been pretty clean the last few
They're all
weeks.
human, though, so there is mistakes.
As we see a mistake by Blair! Get out of here, Blair! McCourt's having a look on the outside. Let's see who can break a little bit deeper. McCourt breaking deeper. Blair still has that inside line. Dictates the line through the corner. McCourt's not going to quite have the exit. Ferrari's probably going to be able to topple the Mercedes at top speed by the end of this straight. Though McCourt is looking very pacey. That outside line, not the most comfortable one coming through the kink on that main straight. And this corner is dangerous. You do not want to go side by side through this corner. There will be an incident.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that.
McCourt does think a little bit better of it, and he slots in behind and thinks I'll have another go later on.
See, that's just given Kitching a little bit of a window to skip away. At the last split, McCourt was 1,000th of a second behind Blair, so very, very tight indeed. As we see Robert Shaw, and is that Robert Shaw and Lamb behind? No, that's Gallo and Lamb. Right there. Seeing just in the background a little bit of scrapping there. McCourt back onto the back of Blair. What Blair has to be worried about as well is making sure that Kitching doesn't skip away in this, because I feel like the toe is about that kind of 7/10 or less is kind of as a time measure where you need to be in, and it is good for a couple of tenths. So
let's try this again.
Yeah.
These drivers will not make a mistake. They are too good. Damn it. Only worked last time.
Yeah, that only works once, Braden. You only get one opportunity, and then that's game over.
Oh, I just want to have a look here, because I just saw for a second it looked like Gallo got a little bit wide. So we might be able to see a run from Lamb on him. Hasn't converted into anything though, so we're all good. Staying on this pack then. Yeah, nothing really happening. Very difficult. Where do you guys feel like the good opportunities are, short of a mistake, to really make a move?
Well,
yeah, it's a good question. I think that turn 7, turn 8 kind of sequence is really a good place to do it. I suppose coming out of turn 5, if you get a better exit in the car ahead, you can get a nice toe and you can get that run into that corner and take that inside line. But there's not heaps of spots where you can make a clean overtake. There's you gotta commit to something, I suppose, in a lot of parts of this track.
yeah, I think in terms of not mistakes, turn 8 is probably your best bet. If you get a better run down the straight here, you can definitely get an overtake done before turn 8 here. Tremonto, it's a weird one, because if you go the inside but brake earlier, you're probably not likely to get it done. Other than that, maybe the final corner, if there's a mistake though. But in terms of no mistakes, there's not many corners.
Yeah, it feels like even you can see then, I think all the drivers are taking very tight lines through Tremonto in this top pack. So it's not like anyone's going really wide looking for a cutback, a later apex and better drive, because that also opens up obviously the big sends on the inside. So yeah, I'm not seeing it. I think this is where a lot of this might actually be done in the pits, and who's willing to try for an undercut, who feels like they're being held up, or are they all pretty comfortable with their current pace? They're all in the low 133s. Gallo behind is falling a little bit further and further, so no big change there.
Yeah, it's very possible this will come down to who's going to blink first and dive into the pits. I don't think you'd want to do it this early though, because you do need to stretch those tyres out. I think within the next 10 minutes, we will see one of these top 4, top 5 dive into the pits to try and make something happen. But yeah, at the moment, it's just a little bit too early. You don't want to be stretching those tyres out.
Yeah, Misano, I think, is pretty savage on the old tyre wear. I feel like, at least from my limited experience, around the 35-minute mark on a set, they start to hurt quite a lot. Now you can manage it, and it does for some of us. I guess it maybe brings out a little bit better because you're kind of forced to be smoother. And here is definitely a smooth is fast track, but yeah, the drop off can be pretty significant. There was a question earlier which Senakis I think it is up the front, and that is JP. So John Senakis, if you recall, was the BMW that got 1080'd over and over, and he's not sure he's still with us. I think that car was too destroyed to continue on. It's pretty savage. Oh, there appears to be an incident, and that's car 3 Paul Britt been involved in something. What has happened here? So this is side by side now. Brit is a lap down, I think. That was a very odd incident.
Yeah, not too sure what to make of that one.
So that's the Nissan of... I'll find it. I think it's Gavin Peterson.
Yeah, it kind of looked like it was going to work for a moment, but then there was just a slight checkup by the Ferrari, which kind of placed the Ferrari in a position that the GTR didn't quite expect. So yeah, I don't know. That was a really odd one.
Yeah. So I think that Peterson was a lap ahead as well, because it did look like the Ferrari was maybe expecting him to take a much tighter line and cut through, because you can cut really, really tight through that final corner. Strange one. I'm sure the stewards will have something to look at and try and figure that one out. But it does look like there's been a thing has occurred while we looked away, and that is Blair has fallen back a couple of positions, so must have made a mistake of some kind, because he's gone from P2 to P4, and he's a lot closer to Gallo than what he was before.
Yeah, and at the time, Kitching was just a little bit over a second out from the rest of this pack. But since that overtake, McCourt is slowly crunching down that time, so McCourt might be able to have a look on Kitching at some point in the next few laps of this race.
You can take a look on board. Get an idea. It's only ever so it's very difficult out of that corner, out of, what was that, turn 8, to get all of the power down and no more than what you can have. You can see he kicked it just a tiny bit too much, but not by much at all, so doing very, very well. Get the car nice and wide. Keep it here. That braking zone can get harder and harder to spot your reference as we go into the night. And indeed, I ended up using when the light fades as my braking zone, which is probably a good analogy for my entire driving ability. Just a fading light. A vague hope in the darkness. See, very twitchy on the wheel, just on the edge of over-rotating the car under brakes. But handling it very, very nicely. Wide to the exit, brake at the 50 meters. Cut that corner. Try and run it wide so you can get a good second apex. Car turned in, hold it, try not to touch the handicap curving. That is a very nice early sector.
Basically, if you don't die, you're fine.
It's a good idea. It's a good thought. It's a good thought.
Words to live and die by.
Yeah. Emily Kate Shafley commenting on my consistency. I've been consistently poor, so that's a form of consistency. A stop-go penalty being handed out to someone, I believe. I can't see it on my list. Further down, Zach James has picked up a 10-second. So that might be for that early incident that had a big old impact.
Yep.
So that's what's happened there. But for your kind words, Emily Kate, you can watch Bradley in action. He's currently under pressure by a lapped car. So that's the 959 of Steve Lewis. He's actually a lap behind him as he has done that pit stop. But he's got some good cars ahead. Mitchell Mann's bub now. So he's kind of on the back of a truck.
Go ahead.
Michael Mann's, sorry. Mitchell Mann's bub now.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you were saying his first name. Yeah, that worked.
Look at the criticism I get. It's just hurtful. Start to finish.
Yeah, something like that.
Uh-huh. How many windows have you got up right now?
I mean, you're notorious for getting names wrong frequently.
3. Yeah.
I do get names wrong frequently. Should stop playing Destiny and start watching. There you go. I don't know if we've we've helped or hurt. There is, to be fair, there is actually a pretty interesting battle, I think. Let's have a look overhead from about Mitchell's perspective. So we've got Aston, McLaren, Honda, McLaren into the pits. Charlie Mitchell getting in early. Or a touch early, it's not too early. And if your tyre pressures aren't on point, and there will be a few drivers who don't have their tyre pressures quite right. It's done all their practice under very different conditions, 15 ambient, 15 track, it is night time. That will hurt. You've got to watch this pit exit as well there, as Schäfele has a Ferrari right alongside. That may even be a Ferrari that's a lap ahead. I can't quite catch the number. That's Bruno Gallo. As he gets his way through. I didn't exactly see what happened there. Was there shenanigans, or was that all fair, gentlemen?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, to be honest.
Yeah, it seemed fair, but I could be wrong.
Too busy thinking about how dangerous that pit exit is now that you mention it.
It's interesting.
If you are exiting the pits, it's very easy for you to know who's around, what kind of drivers you're going to be slotting out next to. You're always exiting the pits at around the same speed, possibly a little bit slower than those cars that are surrounding those first few turns. But if you're one of the cars that is still on track, your eyes are fixed to the inside of the circuit. So it's very easy to miss someone exiting the pits. But you kind of got to keep your eyes peeled for that, because it can very easily turn into an incident.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules are. Is it on? He actually gets back past the 959 car. Is it the driver enter? I assume it's the driver entering the track, and there you go, Schäfele into the pits, which I think is a good time to do it. You'll have just enough life in your tyres to get through to the end and still be in some peak performance. But you get an opportunity to undercut, which matters. I assume it's the car re-entering the track that has the onus to make sure that they're entering safely. So you say JP into the pits as well. That's a bit more impactful. So he'll be looking to undercut McCourt and potentially Kitching just behind
Blair
him.
just behind.
Blair. He'll be looking for a lightning fast stop, because he was starting to drop back a bit without that that toe. You've got Sibiris and Robert Shaw continuing on their scrap. Yeah, tricky one. I know it took me maybe 3 or 4 laps of just keeping an eye on my tyre pressures across the corners to figure out what I had to do to get them back up to the range that I needed as well. Because the track loads the corners up very differently in very different points. You get that early kind of back and forth that puts a fair bit onto the front left, and then it gets very, very calm for a long time. We come through here in turn 8. Front left gets very lightly loaded, and even into 9 and 10 ahead, because you're kind of coming in fairly slow. You're not really asking that much of it. You're not leaning on it incredibly hard. It's more about getting the car pointed the right way and then flooring it. So you'd find that front left, I found in particular, had a very strange temperature profile that almost varied from all of the other wheels actually. So I don't know if I'm just mumbling madly into the void, or if that's
Yeah.
Just keep saying words.
Yeah.
That's what you're here for. Kitching in the pits. McCourt is looking like to go around the track a couple more times. Feeling like there's still a bit of life in those tyres to extract. Might try and make some really good lap times while he's got some clear air. Be interesting to see where Sonikas and Blair come out in comparison to Kitching. I dare say Kitching will still have the jump on them, but will that gap be closed?
Yeah, let's hover inside the mind of Sonikas and see where he slots in. He does have Blair behind. That gap is down. So when they went into the pits, the gap was to Blair was about 3 seconds, and now it's 1.8. So definitely pipped a second and a half in that pit stop time. Very doable. Sneakers wringing the absolute neck out of this Bentley, as you want to do on your first flyers. Really try and make that undercut work as hard as you can.
Kitching is already on the way out.
He's a long pit exit though, isn't it?
It never ends.
Let's jump up into the helicam. You do skip a couple of corners at the start, so it's going to be close.
Oh, Kitching got him though, but I think Sneakers is going to, dive to the outside, but just hold back. I think he's going to, he's going to go for it. No!
Oh.
What the?
Oh dear. Let's have another look. I want to get a different angle this time, and you know what I'm doing.
Do you think Kitching really wants us to have another look though? And that was, that's on JP, unfortunately. That was, he did see the opportunity, but wasn't to be.
Yeah, if JP's nose of the car was up just another half car length, then that would have been fair game side by side through the corner. But yeah, unfortunately, it was just towards that rear quarter panel, which just resulted in a pit maneuver, unfortunately. So Kitching won't be too happy about that one. So this leaves McCourt. Where is McCourt going to re-enter the track? Because Sneakers made up a lot of time on that outlap, and McCourt has decided to stay out. So it'll be very intriguing to see if McCourt is able to smash out some really good laps and capitalize on that free air, or if pitting early was definitely the way to go, and if Sneakers is going to jump ahead.
That's it. Scout box seat, says Franco. He was indeed. He got to see exactly what was happening. A good point as well from O'Hara. If you're in the pits, as long as you're inside the white exit line, you have rights to that space. That is yours, but caught into the pits. We will see where he slots back out when that time comes. However, once that white line ends, you're both on track and respect as you would in any other position. So we did see that at Donington, I think it was in particular, where cars coming out of the pit lane really impacted the racing line, and you did have to be very careful because that is their bit of track, and that is fair. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you see a lot of similar stuff going on with Paul Ricard as well. Both exit and entry of the pit lane of Paul Ricard, because you'll see people exit that last corner at Paul Ricard and they'll swing straight to the right-hand side of the straight, whether they're trying to break a toe, whether they're going into the pits, or whether they just want to get to that side of the track sooner rather than later. So you can see some incidents happen on the entry to the pits. If someone goes into the pit, someone swings over to the right to try and take that real estate of track just because that's their natural line. That person who's pitting slams on the brakes, turns into a rear end, and it's a nasty incident. Same with the exit. It's very easy not to see that someone is exiting the pits, and the road runs out very quickly there. And to react, especially when you're approaching a brake marker, it's a pretty dangerous situation to be in.
That's it. So McCourt, Honor, Alexander, Boats, Pignata, and Van Fleet all in the pits. Here is McCourt. He's coming out. He's at full beans. And it looks like he is a fair way ahead, actually, if I've got this right.
Yeah, he's got wider gap. I believe Sneakers might just be rounding turn 4 and 5 at the moment, coming through turn 6.
Oh, grabbed completely the wrong person. So there's Sneakers. McCourt is just ahead, but he's 5 seconds ahead. So you'd have to say that pit stop undercut, I think just running into traffic, a little bit of an incident, and McCourt just having some full free air has done him well. Meanwhile, Gallo has just gotten back onto the back of Kitching. I think they've got a blue flag car behind them. It's getting hard to see from the helicopter. So we're going to have to start finding some other angles. So Kitching, I think from that tap, the damage to the car won't be particularly significant. Not likely to have done the suspension in ACC that way, and the diffuser will be perfectly intact.
Yeah, but the thing that's going to hurt is he was the race leader at the time, and that incident has taken that away from him, and McCourt has inherited it. McCourt has no idea what's happened. He's come out of the pits and he's thought, Where on earth is Kitching ended up? Kitching is so far behind. I don't know what's going on, but I've got the lead. I'm just going to keep punching out these laps.
As he should. As he should. Yeah, tough one. So Stewart's got a few things to look at. Phillips and Keane, you can see at the bottom left-ish. It's an incident. There's a race control message popped up that's too small for me to read. On the way I've got my million windows set up. Reynolds on Mullock. It's the call. He's taken the position by the looks of things. I think that's a pit exit piece of work. Boats will be getting up inside as well.
Just trying.
So we haven't quite seen any drive-through penalties come through. I know last night there was quite a number of drivers that had to serve a drive-through purely due to the track limits around this circuit. It is very easy to pick them up. This split's doing quite well in that aspect at the moment. However, we do have 26 minutes to go, and
I was going to say, if someone gets a drive-through,
I'm sure there's a lot of drivers floating around with 3 warnings at the moment. One of the drivers last night in Split Green was driving around 52 minutes on 3 warnings.
yeah, nice.
Yeah, I only managed 2, and one of them was...
Yeah, I managed to.
I just lost the car, and it decided that me trying to save it was actually gaining a whole bunch of time, so...
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I didn't pick up many last night either, and that's because to get those track limit warnings, you need to be gaining time, and there is nowhere on this circuit where I'm gaining any form of time whatsoever.
Yeah. There are some big gains when you can make them, and there is more and more to be gained. It is one of those tracks where finding right to the edge of the track limits and hitting that consistently is kind of the key. I feel like what we're both saying is I can find the track limits and not improve, and I don't know how to abuse them and get gains at the same time. But that is what is the difference between the good drivers and the not so good, I think. Or me.
The good drivers, the not so good, and I.
That's it. So look, so a couple of drivers left to pit now, Adoniaki and Green. McCourt definitely skipping away. He's gained another 1.5 seconds, I think, on Senekis. So he has been unleashed. Gallo is falling back from Kitching. Bub now still needs to pit as well, and he's got drivers at the back of him. I feel like it's something that you don't really want. It's very easy as well to get tangled up. You're running a bit longer, some cars behind you have already stopped, you can be alongside on track, trying to hit that pit entrance. The way you have to set yourself up for it can lead the driver behind to think that you've made a mistake and it's time to pounce.
It's just a very misleading track as a whole. You make a mistake, they go for it, they tap you, game over. But if you have made a genuine mistake, realistically, you shouldn't try to fight it, especially around a track like this where mistakes are usually the end of you. And you just sort of got to back out and try and make your way back up again.
Yeah, it can be tempting, I think, when you've made a mistake, you know you're under pressure, to try too hard to save it and cause a much bigger issue. So we see Blair staying very tight to Senekis. There was a penalty as well. I saw earlier Firelord saying there was a 10-second penalty to car 38. It's Matt Keane for displaying yellow flags. We are starting to see the stewards get a lot fiercer on that as well.
Yeah, which is good because there's some drivers that will see the yellow flags and will just think it's an opportunity for a cannon run and see how quickly they can slalom their way through other people's cars, which isn't quite the best way to go about it. But yeah, I'm glad that the stewards are cracking down on that a little bit more because it's a little more real world rules as well, I suppose.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when the consequences are only digital, it can be easy for people to not really have that in your mind. You know, it's like pit speed limits. What does it matter when everyone in the pit lane is virtual? I'm not likely to hurt them, but when it's yellow flags out on track, I mean, we've seen pile-ups that didn't need to be. Blair gets so close to the back of JP.
Yeah, he's tried his best to really carry that speed through and keep that gap as close as possible so he can make a run towards the end of this straight. But the Ferrari on the Bentley, not quite an easy task. The Bentley is no slouch in straight line speed.
With the legs, even with the toe, the Ferrari not quite able to stay with it. So we will continue the status quo here. Let's have a look around the field though. Ryan Green on Van Vliet. It's having a bit of a run.
I'm just really appreciating Franco in chat. Scout needs to extract the digit and get past JP. It's the most G-rated I've ever heard that phrase.
He will unleash the beast. We'll see what happens there. Knowing my luck, now that we've looked away, he'll immediately just make a move. But you know, we can't watch overhead on him all race. See Ryan Green here. That wheel just jitter around as he just trying to keep it under control.
He's on control.
Is he?
Yeah, I was going to say that
Yeah,
must be
he
pad.
is.
No one steers like that. There's some very sore arms.
I'm very
I'd like to try and
fast
drive
arms.
a car like that.
Yeah, just.
I think I'd
Right.
rip the desk off.
Well, he's doing it very, very well for a controller. That's for sure.
And we've seen the first of the drive-thrus come through. Villanueva, sitting in P19, has just picked up a drive-through penalty, I'm assuming track limits.
See, you jinxed it, Braden. Friggin' hell.
And jinx themselves. Stay within the confines of the track.
I actually can't
It's
watch that
Misano,
steering
mate.
wheel.
Them's the rules. I don't make the rules.
Oh, you sure?
I made the rules for this game.
I was going to say, you'd like to at least think you make the rule.
Look, if I made the rules for this game, I would get Star Motion and the Thunderbolt very frequently.
I just want to see blue sparks.
There's blue flames. Does that count?
It's not quite. Not quite.
Oh, you're very hard to please, Jamie.
That is both true and false at the same time. Don't ask me how that works, because I don't know either.
Yeah, they know that. Yeah.
Just watching here, because Siberius, Robertshaw, Ferguson was reasonably bunched up, but now they've all kind of found a little bit more space from each other. It is getting quite dark. It is getting hard to really pick out on the helicam exactly what's going on. You can kind of get to see from the lights shining out.
Lights? What lights? Don't know what you're on about.
Zachary Drames, drive-through, bang. Get out of town, that's another one.
Yep. Yeah, Villanova and James can speak to each other in the pit lane regarding what's happened. It is a tough one. Just trying to find where the next move is going to come through. Shafley chasing roll down here. Now he was... Oh, okay. Well, this will be the next move.
Wow.
How on earth is that?
That was a good move.
Honda Tings, that one? Is that what that was?
Yeah, I just want to jump on board and live that sadness with him.
Let's see. I'm interested to see whether Honda Tings have occurred. I know I've had something
I think it's
similar.
going to be on the brakes.
Yep, Honda Tings have occurred. That's an F. I know that feeling.
His car stayed
not
on
have-
though.
I was going to say, may not have hurt the car a whole lot because there wasn't a whole lot of scraping along the road until they found the sand trap. The sand trap slowed him down very quickly.
Yeah,
So,
just
it'll just be a few positions lost, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the kind of incident we see a bit from Porsches as well, where just a bit too hard on the brakes while you're trying to turn, and all that weight so far back in the car wants to keep going and just spins you around, spits you out. I know I pulled that move a number of times in the Audi. Stephen Ty in chat said he's done that too many times to count.
Oh, just don't do it next time, Stephen.
I don't even know why he did in the first place.
Yeah. You're complaining you got a podium last night. Yeah, righto. All right, mate.
Oh,
wow.
Boats
Okay.
really late on the brakes. Neil Alexander's going to be getting a little bit of sweat above the brow here, seeing that car approach his rearview mirror so quickly. Oh, but now Boats is copying the same thing from the, is it the Jag behind? I think that's a blue flag. That may be Ogold.
It is.
It is. Yeah, you had to let him through. Looks like Boats has got some different braking points to some of the other cars as well. Just runs it a tiny bit wide there. Can't do that too many more times.
Yeah, it seems like Boats pushing the car really, really hard, and then up ahead it looks like Mullock's having a little bit more of a Sunday drive. He looks pretty collected and calm. Just looking at the lines, and he's nailing his braking
Oh, I was going
points.
to say, are you looking at his stream?
No, I usually only look at his stream if he's had an incident, and then I'll go back and I'll watch that part of the stream just to see how he reacts, because it's usually pretty entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's calm and collected as we all are after an incident occurred.
No.
You know it.
It's a tricky one. I feel like, I mean, it's a couple of seasons ago that I did the Audi, but it seems like a chassis that's so uncomfortable under bumps.
Don't know what you're on about. That's not true at all.
Right. And so a track like this, where you're constantly cutting curves and whatnot, is just 60 minutes of flirting with death.
Look, that's pretty much it. And then it's even more flirtatious, that's the word. When you're coming into that triple right-hander, that's even better.
It's almost, you just wince when you hit the brakes coming into turn 13. He's staying with it really, really well, though. It's one of those tracks where it's very difficult to kind of pick when's a move going to happen, because it very much is make a mistake and get pounced on. So see, what on earth was that? Was that Zach James? Just gonna have a look here. Now he's got a drive-through penalty.
The outside wall to grind himself into the pits.
He has a drive-through penalty.
Oh, not
He's
quite.
touched the inside.
Oh,
and
he's
then...
touched the inside. Oh, dear.
You poor thing. He hasn't had a good race at all.
Sorry, mate. Sorry that we watched that. A bit.
Are we sorry?
Look,
Really?
the royal we, I guess. You might. There's a degree of sorrow. Well, I mean, it happens. We've all been there. And if we haven't, then you will be.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you haven't yet, you just wait.
That's it.
I find it interesting that Sanikas hasn't picked up a penalty for the incident we saw with Kitching earlier on in the race. So either the stewards have seen something that has determined it to be a racing incident, or Kitching may not have reported it to the stewards. So Sanikas has gotten away with that one scot-free.
Yeah.
It's a good point. But certainly, I think, look, to our eyes, like, not really is Sanikas putting his nose a little bit too much in, but I'm not sure. If the stewards have had a look and determined nothing needs to be happened, then so be it. We'll find out. JP will be with us a little bit later, so maybe we'll ask him that question. Maybe we won't. Depends on how kind we're all being.
Yeah, I mean, he's having a pretty good battle with Blair on screen at the moment. This battle's been going on for quite some time. So if he manages to snag himself that P2 in the end, might be a little more notable than spinning someone round. Let's stick to the positives.
It's so difficult, isn't it, to try and figure out the right point. I'm just being mesmerised a little bit by the shadow of the Bentley cast from the Ferrari's headlights. I don't know if that's... It's one of those kind of small things, I guess, that...
One of those small things for a small mind.
It's true.
Yeah, that's true.
What is smaller than some virtual photons?
Although there is
That's
two...
right.
There is two separate shadows being cast for two separate headlights. That's a nice attention to detail by the developers.
It looks... Yeah, I mean, I think this game looks outstanding at night. At rain in the night, as we mentioned at the start of the race, is when it just really puts on a show. Susana saying if he did that, he'd be hung at dawn. I'm not sure what it is he's going to be hung at dawn for, but don't do that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you see a penalty come through. I can't quite pick up what it said. I have a tiny little window.
Gavin Peterson,
Okay.
unsafe rejoin.
Yes. The sneaker's turn, yes. Yep. And I think a lot of us have done it, to be honest, is when you're really, really close behind and you're wanting to stay tight and you just slightly misjudge how long the front of your car is or the pace that the car ahead's going to pull, and you should get that slight tap.
Or sometimes you just straight out assume that the other car's going to leave that room. And then as soon as you see that car closing in on you, it's kind of too late to react and too late to pull out, unfortunately.
Because there certainly is the case where if you're the car behind and the car ahead, and you're right on top of each other, you're in a corner, but you are behind, and the car ahead just loses it a little bit, and it causes them maybe to run a little bit wide, and then that collision comes from them, the car ahead, not being able to control it as well as possible. It's rare, but it happens. In situations like that, the stewards may just interpret that as a racing incident. You know, you have left enough room, but a racing mistake has happened from one of the drivers, and there's not really much in it. And it really is, and I think we've seen it coming out of some of the recent F1 incidents. That stewarding principle of it's on the incident, not the result of the incident.
Yeah,
So-
correct. There was quite a few people that I worded up about that, like, oh, it was only 10 seconds of bullshit, he was in hospital. But yeah, they are judging by the offence, not the result.
That's it. Susana saying that corner is the last place to make a pass. I in general I agree. I think an interesting factor there is you're on warm tyres, they're on cold tyres. You've just come out of the pits. You kind of there's an impetus to make a move when you reasonably believe you've got the extra traction, both on acceleration and braking. But I agree. It is. I mean, it is like almost all of the corners here. Actually quite challenging, short of a driver mistake. I mean, there's absolutely no chance here into turns 4 and 5 that you can send anything. That is absolutely out of line. Particularly turn 4. Here we come through turn 6, very, very difficult. Short of a big run here into turn 8, because the kink is turn 7, apparently.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's
And even
another
then-
one of those Kyle Army ones.
Because turn 8 is so cambered, the car ahead is always going to dive heavily into that apex, so you really can't. Turns 9 and 10 here, they're all about just setting up for the exit. And everyone takes such a tight line, there's no chance to make anything happen there. And then, coming up here into turn 11, you'd have to be right alongside already from the toe. Turn 12 is a nothing corner. Into turn 13 under brakes. Crazy to try anything there. Maybe here into turn 14. Braden, I think this was your suggestion of maybe you could get that. I've seen people try some interesting moves around the outside where they can actually carry enough speed or get a cutback and you can have a go at it. Now we come back to start lap. If you can get a really good run down into turn 1, you can sometimes have a think about something.
Yeah, but it's a long string of corners through here, so if you're going to do that, you need to be prepared to go side by side for quite a long time. So make sure your racecraft is up to scratch before you start sending it into turn 1.
Yeah, and I think that's why subsequently, looking through the order, we see a lot of kind of 2x2s. So, you know, recapping, we've got Sneakers 12 seconds behind McCourt, who hasn't had to battle with anyone, so he's getting a free run. Blair's staying with Sneakers. Sometimes Sneakers is holding Blair up. Sometimes Blair's holding Sneakers up, in that Sneakers has to defend against it, so they kind of pair up that way. Lamb and Kitching behind, they'll be doing the same thing to each other. Gallo's just trying to get some clear runs. He has finally gotten clear of Sibiris, so you know that pair has separated. Sibiris is clear of Robert Shaw, but he's stuck with Ferguson behind. Nichols Honor kind of on their own a bit more. So that tends to be the flow here, I feel. It's lots of pairs, occasionally triples, but it's not like a Kyle Army where we were seeing kind of 4 at a time all the way through to the end, 5 at a time. Misano seems to be more pairs, is my feel. Yeah, some interesting discussion regarding the Sadikas Kitching incident. Crawford talking about a later turn in from Kitching. He had run quite wide. Certainly. I would say that we've looked at it a couple of times, but I assume that it got reported. It'd be surprising if it didn't, and the stewards have looked at it a lot of times. And they've come to the conclusion that nothing needed to be done, in which case you'd have to say they are much more likely to be right than we are. They've seen a lot more than we have. And that'll include the driver inputs and things like that. No Chill McGee saying they were involved in an incident and didn't bother reporting. I actually do suggest that that people do report. Because one of the things that we're here for is to learn. And if you get a penalty, and I've certainly got a penalty that I didn't think was deserved, but I look back, I found out that incident. I saw that it actually was completely my fault. The penalty was absolutely deserved. And by going through that report, if there's nothing there, then the stewards will clear it. If there is something there, then they'll fight it. It's not the end of the world to get an incident.
I find that 9 times out of 10, I'll go back and I'll look at the incident where I don't think it was my fault, and I'll rewatch it from a different angle, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, well, it's definitely my fault. I've either got to be blind or stupid to not see them there. One of those ones.
Oh, who is off to the side there?
Looks like a Jag, possibly.
Yeah, I think it is Blue Flag Jag. That is Zach James. I'm not going to pile on his shame. I'll let him go. Yeah, and I think if you're not looking back at your incidents, then you're going to keep having them season after season.
Yeah, I did have my first ever self-report last night, which I'm ashamed that it was my first ever self-report, because the amount of incidents that I've been at fault for, I should have had a lot more self-reports in the past. But last night, as soon as it happened, I just hung my head down. I'm like, that was my bad. Just self-report straight away. Cops the penalty on the chin. Apologised to the other driver involved later on after the race, and there's water under the bridge. But yeah, there's no need to be so stubborn all the time in sim racing.
Yeah, I think there is absolutely nothing wrong with reporting, and it is the right thing to do. Just do it. Right? Like, you don't have to feel sorry. You don't have to feel, oh, I wonder if they'll be upset. They'll be annoyed that I report it. No, just report it. Right? All you're saying is, I think that there's something to look at. That's it. So yes, I've sent off a few self-reports as well, because if I did something wrong, I want to know, because I'm going to race next week and the week after and the week after, and I want to be better for it. So here we go. Kitching, though, having another look at Lamb. So that is one of the opportunities that we did talk about. He did only get a half run, but it can be enough to compromise. and really get the driver ahead thinking about it. They are running out of time. So I wonder... Jinx tried it twice now in turn 14. I wonder if he will continue that move or whether he will mix it up and try a different approach. There's not that many alternatives available to him though. Let's go all the way to cockpit. This will give us a pretty good idea of what he's got to deal with. And see how much he's really taking that car to the limit. Which is why he did get pole. He's very, very quick. Braking late with a shower of sparks. Has to brake a bit harder than what he'd like. Throws himself offline as he carries a bit too much beans into Lamb. Avoids the collision though, which is always priority number one. Do not get far in a race if you are just running into the other cars under brakes. That may have cost him a run on this lap if he was going to have another go at it. But he seems to just gain a lot of pace through these last couple of corners against this Aston.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you
Looks like
can.
Blair is getting nice and cozy with Sneakers as well. They are very close at the moment.
Yeah, we'll have a look. This is for the podium, so it does always take pride of place. What can he do? I think if you're Sneakers at this point, you know you just need to hold it. There is not many opportunities, and if you want to actively defend, then you can absolutely hold it off halfway until forever.
Yeah, Sneakers really just has to use the girth of the Bentley to his advantage.
Absolutely is. Blue flag car ahead. I don't think that's likely to play into that too much. That's possible. Okay, it gets 100% out of the... No, he doesn't get out of the way. Okay, doesn't cost anything too much. But, yeah, he just maybe played spoil for half a second there. Okay. Race on. Kitching and Gallo behind. Kitching and Lamb as well. Still scrapping. This is about the last opportunity. Blair, he can absolutely send it.
The leader has finished.
Cuts the hell out of the corner. Maybe he's got a track limit warning left up his sleeve and he can really risk a big cut on the inside. Doesn't quite. He's going to have to hold station through to the end. Bruno Gallo behind. Kitching has gotten past. It's well gotten past.
Yeah, certainly looks like it.
Off Lamb, who's dropped down to 6th while we were watching that.
Yeah, sorry.
I am not sure how that's happened. But it has. Okay, it hasn't moved Lamb off the Pro-Am podium, but it's just kind of at the end and see Alexander getting a bit loose, looking for one more cheeky position. Qualified 20th. He's coming home in P14 if he gets it turned back around and on track before Boats comes through.
What a way to finish it. Oh, the rejoin. There's plenty of space there. Jeez, it was close for a moment.
Oh, Boats with a cheeky. I saw that light flash. Hopefully he didn't have to lift too much, wondering about whether or not there was about to be an incident, but that'll be about it across the line. I think Shafley might be last to cross. There's another car left to come at least. Michael Mann's got Philpott just behind him.
Philpott will be taking that position with Mans' 10-second time penalty.
It does indeed. There's a few penalties down the order, but it happens.
Yeah, well, that's racing.
And we're just waiting for everyone to cross the line, and we'll got a little bit of time because it's the longer races before the next one. So, McCourt, Senecas Kitchen take the podium in the overall and the pro class. Lamb, Sibiris, and Robert Shaw for the Pro-Am class. Through the order, some very tight battles right down to the end. But I think a lot of it was just no big mistakes up the front end, other than, getting some better pit times, better pit windows. So
Green light, go, go, go.
let's get another look that way. So there you go. Once again, through the Pro-Ams, if you're so inclined on how the Pro-Ams all fared with respect to each other. And then in the AM class, Green, Villanova, and Sharp take their podiums as well. So that is another Misano in the books. One more for the Asia Pacific region. And that will be Split Red that we jump to. We've got half a moment as well. We can throw up the track map while we load in.
Go, go, go.
If you're wanting to refresh your memory about the corners, their names, and whatnot. Find that on the screen at the moment. Let me actually get that nice and big. I probably should throw that up while I was joining the server instead. It takes me a second to do some reconnection stuff, so you can look at that rather than see me click around and change windows and whatnot. Yeah, some big moves in that race. Driver of the race for you guys?
Personally, I'd have to go with O-Gold. That pit entry was phenomenal.
Yeah.
O-Gold being Zachary James in the Jaguar. Yeah, look, Lamb did pretty well to hold off Kitching for as long as he did.
Yeah.
Kitching was blistering at the start of that race. But you've got to say McCourt. McCourt was within that pack, sitting around P3, P4 for a lot of that race. But staying out on track and crunching that delta for a few laps before pitting and then coming out really did a lot for him. And yeah, he ended up breaking out a gap of over 10 seconds. I think it was about 12, 13 seconds towards the end. So McCourt's going to have to take it for me because yeah, that was phenomenal. Once the pit stop strategy was done, it was basically just in the hands of McCourt.
Yeah, definitely had an opportunity and didn't look back once he grabbed it. So very well done. Look at Nichols. Sad Jag tings. There was some sad Jag tings, to be fair. I feel for John Senecas in the BMW. That hurt to watch. We've all been there in races where you just get absolutely destroyed and there was nothing you could do about it at all. But
yeah, so I suppose John Senecas gets condolences of the day.
that was
Look, he does.
brutal. Is there any chance of rain? That's the question on my mind here, though. Look, the wind is still, but it's cloudy.
No rain, probably. Just knowing our luck.
Wet rain races at Misano are
Wet rain races? No way, dude.
Wow.
Just to step up from those dry rain races.
Oh, yeah.
wet night races, as we mentioned, are a thing to behold. And a very different track in the wet. Just all of those corners that don't feel like a good opportunity in the dry. And you
really
mistakes.
can't catch a break from us.
Yeah.
You say one thing out of place and we just pounce.
Right, and obviously as a commentator, right? Like we're here to make sure that you're hearing things and we're adding some colour all the way through, as well as, especially on a track like this, like where are all the pit stop battles coming in? What kind of times are people putting down? What have we missed? How do I switch camera angles? What's my name? Where am I? Where did my clothes go?
Yeah,
all of these questions.
How dare you not be
through.
perfect?
They're all valid questions.
Right. You're not my dad.
Yeah, right. Okay.
All just going through your mind all the time. But yes, trust me, it gets much worse. To diverge for half a moment, so I play World of Warcraft Classic, as a bunch of them do, and I do arenas with one of my friends, and at the start of the game, I will just list off an arbitrary class that we're apparently up against, and there's just no connection between what I'm seeing on my screen and the words that come out of my mouth. Just none at all.
Is your brain even functioning?
Oh look, many have asked the same question, and none have been satisfied with the response.
Or smooth brain sacks, they call him.
Right, just no wrinkly boy here. Moritz Wagner with to leave Jamie alone. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Nah, don't worry. There's at least one race where we each attack each other. I'm still waiting for that race, but there is at least one.
It's just maybe we'll do a commentator's special race.
That would be interesting to
It'll
see.
just be a debacle.
Did you see you two at the back just... What's the word? Taking each other out.
That's a lot of words for one word.
My brain just like went blank for a
How
second.
dare you for not being perfect?
We're all falling over. What I do want to say in the last 10 seconds here is just looking at those practice times. Baldwin with the 1:32.7. Gibbons, a quarter of a tenth behind him. And then it's actually pretty tight all the way. It is under the half second when you get to McIntosh, but if those practice times are indicative, again, we're going to see a lot of mix-ups all the way through this next qualifying session.
Well, it's just a question of whether can they actually pull them out in quali.
Well, that's it.
And if so, this is going to be spicy.
I'm going to take a quick second to give a warm welcome to JP Papa Peach Sneakers to the commentary box.
Good evening, people. How are you doing?
Very
Yeah,
good,
we're
mate.
That was a spicy race, mate. You secured P2, which is very nice.
Yeah, I'm a sweaty mess at the moment. Scout was all over me. So yeah, it was good fun. Couldn't afford to make any mistakes.
Yeah, that battle went on for basically half the race. At least half. That last half hour, it was you couldn't catch a break from him. So yeah, really good racing by the both of you.
Yeah, no, it was great fun. I don't know, the car felt very weird in the second stint, so I just couldn't get any pace going, and then I had a big yellow Ferrari all over my rear mirror.
Maybe you had a little bit of aero damage on the front of that car.
Yeah, that might have been.
Anyway, we'll leave it at that.
There was discussions.
I just scrolled up in the chat. I assumed there would be some comment. Yeah, I don't know.
But look,
I didn't call it out, and Kitching didn't call it out.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, so we were wondering whether it was classed as a racing incident or if it wasn't reported. But yeah, so that clears it up. Wasn't reported.
I would have thought the stewards. So the stewards usually see it as well, especially if it was up on the stream. It gets mentioned to them, so I could certainly see how it could be classed as a racing incident. We don't really.
Yeah, no, look, as a Lewis Hamilton fan, I feel like that was a Lewis Hamilton move, and hashtag best for not getting the penalty, I guess. But
yeah, still
no,
you rise.
Sorry to Kitching. I mean, I stuck my
Proceeds
nose
to
in
get
where it didn't
post-race.
belong. But yeah, I mean, if there's a post-race penalty, then no worries. I'll accept it. But yeah, I don't know. For me, I think it could have gone either way. So let's see what the stewards say.
Yeah, good attitude. Good attitude to have.
It is what it is. And we always look back at every race and see what we could do better. Mine is usually just go faster somehow. Like that's my kind of rule
Just
of
press
thumb.
the accelerator more, Jamie. You're in the BMW, no brakes, just all on the turbo.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Now who's the Bentley up first? Because they get to be seen
No idea.
first.
Probably Baldwin.
It is probably Baldwin. Yeah, that was a good guess. Let's have a look as he gets it around. It'll be interesting as well, JP. Do you know if these guys are running the same setup as you are? And if so, does this car look to be handling the way you expect it to?
I think they're all running. Jake is running his own setup, I think, and most of the others are running a Dini's setup. I was running a different setup, so yeah, I tried a Dini setup, but I guess it confirms that he's more talented than I am because I can't go as fast as he does with it. But yeah, all of the setups are fairly close in terms of pace. I think it just depends on the style of racing, I suppose.
I'm going to see myself out just before this qualifying session gets a little too thick and I have to say goodbyes at an intense moment. So I think now's a better time than ever. So yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Enjoy the next race. Take it easy.
No worries. Thank you very much, mate. And yeah, Susana, some comments in chat. I think it's why I'd always encourage, just report the incidents. But we can't expect the stewards to see everything if they don't know what's happened as well. So, which is why we prefer just to get it reported, just see what happens. Either way, Baldwin is about to close out his first lap. So first fly's still getting his tyres up to temperature a little bit, and we do tend to see quite some big drops across the session. And he must have had an invalid lap, because that one has not clocked through. So the first to set a valid is Jacobs with a 1:33.8. So Baldwin, you can see he is up on his previous time, but yeah, the last one did not count. So start to jump in and see some of the gains. Gibbons already finding another 6/10 on his previous lap. So far...
Easy. Sorry, no, I just wanted to say it's so easy to invalidate the lap here. There's so many corners where you can do it. Especially with the way the track is designed, with having to cut about 90% of corners. It's such a fine margin to just let one go.
Yeah, the track is not too punitive with some of these curbs. You know, you can run wide and it's not upsetting the car enough, and therefore it is worth running wide. Except for those anti-cuts, I think, which you come out of turn 6, depending on your setup. And then, obviously, I think people start tuning their cars to be able to cut it harder as well, so the cars are more compliant over the curbs. But that does cost you in some of the sharpness and being able to get the car turned around the way you'd really like in some of these corners. So it becomes an interesting kind of setup balance as well as a driving balance. So I can tell you Gibbons, and I will switch it over, but I can tell you he's second up now on his previous lap. So I'll jump him up a number of positions, get him into the mid 1:33s, which he'll be happier about, but I think he's got more left in him.
Baldwin also registered a lap finally, so he's topping the table at the moment.
That's it, yeah, with the 1:33.1. So that is the time to beat so far, but I think we'll see back into the 1:32s. We saw a couple of drivers able to hit it. How many is the question?
Oh, that might be close for P1. He does get it by 9/1000th. That's... wow. I mean, there is still 10 minutes, but what a lap from Gafour there.
Yeah, he's just starting to get held up. It looks like he's already decided to scrub this lap, but has not decided to go pit in new set of tyres. So that's what works for him at this point in time. Chariot's a couple of tenths up so far as well. I can see McIntosh and Misson all making gains. Justin Clayton is 7 tenths up on his current lap, but he's kind of in the 1:36s. He's definitely got more pace than that. Chariot's looked to have found a 10th, but it's cost him on the exit, so he's just gone a bit too hot. It's always tempting, isn't it, into a corner to chase some time, but the exit is where you make or break. And in this case, hasn't gained, but he's still up a little bit. And there's more to be had. He needs 4.5 tenths if he wants P1 for the moment. Although, as I say that, Gafour did actually just pit Baldwin's time by 100th.
Poor exit out of the last corner there, cost him a bit.
Yeah, it cost him about 1/10.5, but still got some more laps to go. I'm sure he's going to stay out on those tyres. We look to Powell now. That's nearly rhymes. He's nearly 6/10 up. That would put him up to P13 by the looks of it. If he could gain a little bit more time, I'm sure he'd like that, but looks like there's a little bit of a gap there between 12 and 13, so this would stick him nicely in between there. I can only assume that's what he'd like. He's dropped a bit of time, though. So this would probably put him below Johnson, unless he can nail these final corners, as to which he'll be in front. Nails the exit, not a lot of time lost. That's probably going to put him in P13. And it does. So still got a bit of time to find if he wants to make another position. Definitely a good challenge for him. Whether he can do it, though, we'll wait and see.
That's it. I'm not sure how much more people are going to need to get further ahead if we are going to see any 132s. Although, as I say that, Baldwin strikes back against Gafford with a 133.021. So his previous was a 133.074, if I recall correctly. So finds another 10th and a half, and that's enough for pole. We're hovering ominously above Drew Laird. Currently, he's on 136.7. He's definitely got more in him, but the Nissan is a bit of an ugly car at this track. Doesn't really appreciate anything about it. So his expectations will be a little bit tempered. Still, 4 tenths is 4 tenths. It'll jump him a position, but yeah, he'd need a lot to keep going up the order. Does just pips Leonard Scott. Sean Jacobs is a 10th up on his. You see this a lot where drivers get ahead of their previous lap time through the first couple of sector and a half. Just got to close it out.
Every time you do a good hot lap and you try and follow it up, there's always one corner which you somehow did absolutely perfect on your first lap and is just incapable of matching it no matter what you do.
Oh, it's always the worst feeling.
So he drifts it a bit around the final corner.
That's one of those final corner. It's to the human eye, it looks really easy, but it's really not. It's really painful if you drift. Let's see what McIntosh does here. There you go. Goes a little bit wide. There, drifts out there. Going to lose about a half tenth, nearly a tenth maybe. Still puts him onto P6 though. Still needs a couple of tenths to make his way up even further if that's where he wants to be, which I'm sure it does. 10th up now with Floyd. Needs 8 tenths for pole. He's been pretty quick in the past recent weeks. But it's had... I can't remember if it's him or Sweet that's had a fairly long run of bad luck, but I'm sure if it is him, I think it might be Sweet, not Floyd. He'll look to try and make up as many positions as he can. He's only 6 1,000ths off Misson for 9th, but then it's got a gap of 2 tenths to Chewiet's and 3 tenths to Girardi, so see if whether he can make that up. It's a bit of a... Well, he gained time. It looked a little bit sloppy, in my opinion, there. See, could have been 2 tenths up. Just can't quite find the time. Uses all the turn into that Merc. Finds maybe 100th. See if he can nail this final corner. As we just see, he's going to go wide anyway. There's a Ferrari off there.
Invalidated. Oh. God, he's close. This is Johnson now. He's 2 tenths up. Gotta get a cut turn in and turn around.
Oh, that's such a bad corner. If you just lose the rear like he's done there, there's his 2-3 tenths just gone right there. So if he still goes faster, he knows he's got 3 tenths in it at least. So could be looking into the 33s if he can nail that. That would put him up into the top 12. He's still got that final sector though.
You could see there as well, just the tiniest bit of wheel spin costs you immediately. He was 500ths up, touch of wheel spin, and it all bleeds off through that straight. But through the final corners, he's picked up another 10th there, but lost it on exit again. Pushing too hard. It's going to rob you a bit. Will rob you a bit of time through the final corner. Sometimes better off just to set yourself up for a better next lap. I wonder if he hasn't cooked those rear tyres a bit too much and now struggling more than he'd like to be. Not that you really like to be struggling at all, I suppose.
Top 10, top 11, all within a second. So nice and competitive as usual here in Split Red.
Keeping a half eye on the top guys, and no real changes in their order. Still Baldwin leading Gafford at 10th and a half. Smith and Gibbons are on identical times. Smith sitting at first does have pride of place. It's like Johnson just not quite getting the connection he needs. Matt Powell is on a bit of a gain though. Currently in the mid 134s. Didn't quite get as good an exit compared to his best lap, but he will be ahead by the time he hits the braking zone. If only by a couple of hundredths. That's the thing, you just need, sometimes you just need to get to this point in the lap around about pace and then find another tenth or two on the final corners.
And this final sector is so easy to lose time, but you can also, if you nail it, you can make up 2/10 so easily. Especially the final corner, if you can get a good drive out of there, then it makes up so much time. Good finish to the lap there for Powell, but not really going to change much for him.
He sets himself up for his next lap. Holmes is finding some good connection though. 4/10 up on his best. Runs right out to the edge of the track.
Oh, might lose a little bit there. Didn't quite get the episode. Nails the exit though. Finds half a tenth or so there. Just put him up a few. Might put him up to P10. Put him in front of Misson. Maybe if he finds a bit more time here in front of Chewietz as well. Won't quite find the time for that. Gets just behind Chewietz, so in front of Misson. So good time there. He's got one more lap in him if he's got the fuel for it. Gibbons is up 2/10. This could put him on pole if he nails this. Baldwin still probably has another lap in him too. There's those 2/10 that Gibbo needs. Just trying to find an exit. Didn't quite have it. Half a tenth gone there, but he only needs 2.5 tenths. This is going to be it, so he's going to have to go for it in this final corner. And
Not
can't quite find it.
Almost.
He's going to get P2 though. Almost had him.
Oof. P2 is much nicer than the P4 he previously had. And I don't think any of the other guys he's majorly contesting are going to be able to fight back. Smithy, I think, has already completed his lap, so he is done. Van Dijk is actually out and about. He's on a good gain, and he is still on a valid lap. He'll be one of the last to set a lap. Keeping an eye, I can see George Fowler has found a couple of tenths. He's currently in P15, assuming that he is actually on a valid lap, which I think he is. Indeed, he's the car just behind Van Dijk that we can see in the distance, car 11. So, get an opportunity to find out there. 1NE Triple T, I assume, is John, and we will discuss your incident after this qualifying.
Which one?
Oh, if you don't know.
I was in voice chat with him, so I know there was a lot of swearing. I just don't know what happened.
Oh, I will tell you. So Van Dijk does come through. Fowler does gain a 10th, but unfortunately he needed a bit more if he wanted another position. And that finishes our qualifying. So Baldwin, 133.02. I thought we'd see 132s, and we did not. Gibbons, 3.5 hundredths behind. Very, very tight. And then Gafford, Smith, Jacobs, Floyd, McIntosh, Girardi ran out the top 8.
Can we have a look at the weather? Boo!
Yeah, nothing happening here. And then as we look down, he's going to be a fair bit clearer. So I'm not sure if in ACC the lack of clouds means that at night, as the sun really goes down, if the temperature drops faster. But yeah, we'll see. Scout, I'm not sure if we saw the 180-degree counter steer. We did see you drop some positions, we weren't sure why. JP, so what happened, if I can recreate it, and the video really does do it does tell the story a lot more. Yes, your brother was following he was fourth in a line of cars, coming out of turn 6, and the first 2 in that line got in trouble with each other, and they were very close. All these 4 cars were all in a very tight line, and unfortunately, that incident meant that John got speared off to the right, bounced off that wall, speared back into the middle of the track. Nothing he can do about it at this stage. And then the rear end of the car swung around just in time for a Jag to drive square into it. Did about a 720 one way, gets slammed by another car, 720 the other way, and then to drive the car back, the wheel was, let me get this degrees right, like 135 degrees around in order for the car to drive straight. So yeah, it was
not that good then.
not good would be a way to describe that incident, but it was it hurt to watch. And maybe we laugh about it afterwards, but we've all been there and had our race just fall to pieces. And
Well, I think he's happy he's made it past the first lap. So that's progress. So after another season and a half, I reckon he'll finish a race.
I was going to say, is it not going to be till like finals or something you'll finish a race?
I don't think it's that soon because he's only making like 1 lap progress at the moment. So.
And Zach Smith's disconnected.
Smith has disconnected. Now, he might be able to reconnect in time and at least he'd get in at the back of the grid, or maybe a lap down because he'd teleport back into the pits. He DC'd. He Bakited his way out of this race.
That's a bold strategy.
Oh dear. Chris Mitchell as well has not actually taken the start, so didn't get his car readied in time, I assume. So Smithy will be doing a last first challenge. And it sounds like he's reconnecting.
It is such a challenging track to overtake here as well, especially if you're fairly close on pace. I mean, as Scott can tell you, I mean, he was definitely faster than me in the final stint there, and it's so difficult to overtake.
That's because the Bentley is half the width of the Misano track.
But it's not actually that wide.
Italy.
Oh, it is.
It is.
McLaren is wider than the Audi, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Bentley.
Look how much wider. That McLaren is so much wider. Just.
Yeah,
it's not even close. It's
bigger because it's the size of a London freaking double-decker bus.
Correct, it is.
The Bentley is tall, not wide. Moritz is absolutely correct. It is not actually that wide. It just looks big. It is volumetric. Smithy has reconnected, so he will at least start on at the same lap.
That's good.
But he's going to have to wait for a while. You got this, Hobbs?
Yeah, righto, here we go. Ball one underway. Gibbo's got a decent start too. Gafford behind. McIntosh has got a good start there. Right up into 4th from what appeared to be 6th there. Not quite sure what happened. Maybe it was just... Oh, it was due to Smithy disconnecting, that's why. So, on the run now. Looking for maybe 2 wide. Coming through turns 4 and 5. And then through 6, they're going to go 2 wide. Haven't seen any incidents yet, which is good to see. Nearly up the rear end of someone there, but all clean so far. There's those 2 drivers coming out of the pits now. That's Smithy in there. And Mitchell as well. Now down into hairpin turn 8. No major incidents yet. A little bit of wheel banging there. Honda Nissan side by side. There's a Bentley there in the background on a Lambo. I think that's Mason on Sanderson. Seeing those 2 Jags in front. That's Fowler and Clayton, I do believe. Coming down the back straight now. I think that's probably the cleanest lap one we've ever seen.
Yeah, a couple of side-by-sides I saw. A few doors got bashed, but nothing too material, which is all good to see. And we can see that those couple of extra drivers, that's Mitchell and Smithy, are out and about. They are a half lap or so behind, but at least they are on the lead lap, and that is what matters. Up the front end, we do have Baldwin clean of Gibbons. Jacobs and McIntosh behind. Gafford did lose a couple of positions. He's still up in and fighting around that pack. And yeah, as you say, a nice, good, clean lap one. That is what we like to see.
This pit lane is just one of the worst things. It's
not as bad
never
as
ending.
Spa.
It's not as bad as Spa, I admit that, but it's just freaking never ending.
There's a bit of an incident back here I saw, and I think that Stuart Matthews has been involved in it. Let's get an idea of what's going on. So this is Matthews, I think that's Pete Chalmers and Drew Laird. Around, no, Laird and Neighbour behind in the Honda and the Nissan.
Ooh,
Just a bit of a tap.
Ferrari thing, maybe.
It looked like Laird just lightly tapped him in the braking there.
Maybe a kiss under brakes caused the Ferrari to do that. I haven't seen something like that be caused under an incident. I've seen the Fez do that before, but I could be just telling absolute garbage. But still nice and clean. The cars at the back. Smithy and Mitchell just trying to catch up and do the best they can. They're hoping probably try and make their way up through the pit stops. You see that's 214 going a little bit slow there. Don't know who that is. That's Girardi. He's fallen a long way back. What's happened there?
Girardi. Right, okay, so I've caught it. This was 30 seconds ago.
Don't know if there was a tap there or whether he just lost it himself. I think may have been a slight tap. I couldn't tell who it was. Turn 8. That's
Where
the
do you
camber
go?
section. Yeah, not a lot of
It's
space there. But he's got it round. He's back on the move now. Back in P... wherever he is. Sure he'll tell us in a second.
Yeah, it's P, not good.
P not good. Okay, we'll go with that.
He's 26 at the moment. So.
Oh, yeah, that is P not good. Here we go, though. Jacobs. Just going to try and hold a McIntosh. McIntosh got a good start, as we saw, getting up from P5 to P4. So a very good start from him, getting around the outside of Gafford, I believe, who's already 1.2 off. Baldwin's already pulled 2.4 to Gibbo after the space of about... It's like 2 laps now. That's incredible pace. He's Rashuti down the inside of Chewiet's. Now we know Rashudi's very consistent, very patient. So I think he's just gonna... Oh, he's gonna...
Going around the outside.
Oh, maybe around the outside. Not the best around turn 9 there. Or turn
Should give him a
10,
good
whatever you'd like
exit.
to call it. Yeah, good exit though, but... Is he going to really
Gotta be
risk
alongside.
this? Is he going to wait? Chewiet's is very experienced too. Hasn't had the greatest luck this season. He is going to look to the inside. Holds back though, knows better. So you just see that's Samwise behind them, just looking in on this battle. But he's got to defend off Misson first. So 4-way train going on here. Johnson just in the background there with Fowler and Power behind as well, fighting. So hopefully... I think what we're wanting to see here, I think Samwise wants to pull his way up to this battle with Rashuti and Chewiet's, but at the same time, Misson wants that position from Samwise. It's just using all of the curves, which is what you should do. This is where Samwise is going to lose all the time. He needs to be using all those curves. It doesn't quite look like his tyres could be warm yet, even though I do believe they should be by the laws of ACC.
Well, it's...
But...
If he's not adjusted the tyre pressures for the current temps adequately, then... And I think there'll be a few drivers that are out there who are just a bit too far under pressure. He needed, I think, for me, it was about 7 clicks higher in the end from what they will have just qualified on. Easy to undershoot. Yeah, I only did about 3 in my first stint, and that hurt.
Yeah, look, that wouldn't have gone well for you, mate.
So, and I think there'll be a few drivers around that are struggling with that, but this is one of the things for Misano. So, Scote claiming that he was 1.2 seconds a lap faster than JP, and he was holding him up to that margin. I think 1.2 is that's a big statement, Scote.
It is.
But I think you need to be about a second and a half quicker to actually...
Oh, switchback. No, I thought he had it.
Not this lap. But yeah, I think to get a move done, you kind of need a second and a half to be the difference, to have any real chance on raw pace alone. Otherwise, it is a mistake in being there for it. And sometimes trying to force that mistake. But we will we'll see.
I mean, if he was 1.2 seconds faster, that would have been a race pace of about 32.8. So that would have been quite impressive.
Well, yeah, it seemed like a big statement. But you know,
Yeah, but
maybe.
to be fair, I was very slow in the second stint, so I'll give him credit that that's probably a true statement.
Definitely, I think both attacking and defending it costs you time, as we know. In Misano, you're just constantly doing both, which I think is one of the factors that's really why Baldwin has been able to pull such a big gap already. He's kind of doing low 133s. Gibbons now doing mid 133s. Now that he's found a bit of space away from McIntosh. So some of these battles already starting to pair off. As we've mentioned in the past, Chalmers here on Viney. She's just going to have to follow some of the cars. The tow can really start to help them. So some opportunities abound. What we haven't seen, thankfully, is anyone really being forced into a very early pit stop due to incidents. So that's definitely good to see. You know, Smithy doing high 133s at the moment. Still got a mountain to climb. But he's doing what he can, and it's a long race. As you see, Viney runs a bit wide, but Chalmers also a bit too scruffy and therefore not able to take advantage of that. It's an easy mistake to make as well when you see the car ahead make a mistake and you try and push a bit too hard wanting to take advantage of it, and instead the opportunity's gone.
Yeah, it's very easy to get over eager when you notice that mistake. You're like, oh, there's my chance, and then you go 4 meters wide off the track and just ruin everything you built up.
Yeah, and we see it on some of these tracks where it is so difficult to overtake. People feel like that's the moment. I need to push even harder now, and they just go above their ability.
Especially if you've been following somebody for quite a few laps and they haven't really made any mistake. When they make that little mistake, it's so easy just to, as you said, get over eager and mess it up.
Absolutely. So Chalmers starting to fall back a bit more from Viney. I thought we might see something. Drew Laird just picking up a 5-second penalty, 10-second penalty.
I assume that's for the little tap on Matthews in turn 1.
It could be. It could be. That would make sense.
To just give a shout out to Fowler and the Jag, running 12, leading Amglass by miles.
Yeah, that's well played. He's a very good driver in that Jag, actually, fella. I think my memory serves me correct. He came from rookies. I could be wrong, but doing a very good job sitting up in 12th at the moment. Still got Matty Powell behind him 8/10ths, and then got Viney behind, but Viney's fighting his teammate Chalmers at the moment. And then up ahead in front of Fowler, 3.5 up the track. Johnson on Misano, who's on Samwise. It's going to be a good battle to watch as the race progresses. It'll be interesting to see what the pit strategies start to look like. As you see Samwise still looking for that move from Misson, but I don't think Misson's going to go for it. I think he's just going to play the patient game. I think Johnson wants that though. I
think Misson's got a run. He forced Holmes
should have the
into
legs.
He gets a bit upset having to cut even tighter on the inside of the what is that, turn 11. That cost him. Yeah, it looked like Holmes was kind of forced into a very defensive line through Tremonto. And because of that, Misson was able to try and get a run. Almost made it work, I think. Yeah, just through turn 11, just got kicked out too much. Destabilised the car, lost a whole bank of pace. Holmes was able to stay ahead. It does feel like opportunities may abound. As you suggested, Hobbsy, it may be that Holmes just doesn't quite have the tyre pressures where he needs them to be. Look again and see if Misson can force the same line, or maybe that just is Holmes' line into Tremonto.
He could be trying to park it on the apex. Misson goes deep. He's really outpacing Samwise here, but Samwise is just putting that Merc on all the apexes, making it as wide as he can. He could have stuck his nose out there, just put that pressure on Samwise, gets the better run through. Look to the inside. I think Misson's going to have to play the long game here. Hopefully he can get him in the pits, because if he can get him in the pits, that's going to give him a good advantage for the last half or so of the race, depending on when he decides to pit. If I'm Misson, I would be pitting in about 10 minutes or so to try and get the undercut.
You might be right. Keep in mind, Holmes is fresh off defending Kailami for about 60 years. So...
Oh, well, that's a fair point.
He's got some credence there. Oh, this is interesting. I saw Gafford there. Oh, sorry, Jacobs. Felt like he was able to take a very tight line through turn 6. And that's why he's right up on the back of McIntosh.
Yeah, McIntosh didn't go for the tightest line. He went for the try and get the most speed onto the straight line, but didn't quite help him there. So he gets the better exit. Looks equal, but Jacobs is going to have the slipstream. He's going to be pulling his teammate along, might just be out of it. And this
When
is
did McIntosh get past Jacobs?
past 2 laps, I believe.
Okay.
Only recently, hasn't been there for that long. Jacobs gets a good exit, but so does McIntosh. That Bentley's very good on corner exits. We do know this. That's not just around Misano. That's for any track. So just see Floyd in the background there, lurking, trying to pull away from Chewiat, who's got Rashuti behind. It's a second gap though. And then it's another 4 or 5 seconds from Rashuti to Samwise, who's still fighting off Misson 3/10 off. Johnson's got that 15-second pen for an incident, so he's going to have to serve that in the pits, and that's going to put him back to quick maths time around P19 or so, I'd say. Move a bit further down, P20.
Can anybody of the mods in chat please ban Moritz for that last comment? Because that is just cool.
Oh, Jesus.
Sometimes bald win, sometimes bald lose. Horrible.
That is, I mean, we've all made it, but nah.
Aren't you a father now, though? You're supposed to appreciate that.
I was going to say,
I definitely appreciate it.
his
It's in the
glasses
dad
on to
joke
write
book,
it
don't
down.
worry.
Yeah.
It's there.
See.
Obviously not on my phone because that would be modern, so I can't
Oh,
do
that's
that.
modern.
No.
Yeah, no.
So Smith, we're watching over, has gotten up to the back of the pack and is now making some moves. I think some of the drivers just kind of letting him through. Not worth fighting a fight like that. So Baldwin just casually setting a 133 flat in the race. Somebody's off. That's the 214, I think, of Girardi.
That's Girardi gone back to the pits, just teleported then. Let's see what's happened. Incident with the...
Oh,
wow.
no.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Get wrecked, mate.
Yeah, there's definitely a hole in the dignity after that one.
I mean, he is in the shadow realm and beyond.
Oh, mate. His car is now a part of that tyre barrier.
Yeah, it's...
Looks like a Bushman's painting on the wall there. Just a Bentley
Look
painted
at...
on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
It was, it looked like a very, very tight clip. The Lambo just cutting back across, thinking that there wasn't still an overlap, and there was just enough to really kick the car out hard. That is an F in the chat. Yeah, it looks like Misson can get such a better run out of Tremonto. Holmes.
Samwise knows. Oh, Misson has that run. I think Misson could actually give himself a fair chance here, maybe. Oh, I wouldn't be going for a switchback because that's going to turn him round. Maybe. Oh, I think he was thinking about it. He's got his teammate to defend from, but I think Johnson might let Misson do all the work here and then try and capitalise on that. I know I would. Even though I do love my teammates, I'd still make them do the work. But Samwise, oh, he's making that Merc much wider than it actually is. And I know that would probably be a little bit frustrating for Misson because he knows he has the pace to get past, but Samwise is just denying him that opportunity. He might have to wait for a mistake. He's coming up to a point where he could probably think about going for an undercut, a little bit squirrely on the exit there. Maybe the undercut is what he's considering because he's just getting held up way too much at the moment. Coming onto the second straight, that's not the start-finish straight. Gets a better run. Samwise going to defend the inside. Then he'll probably move across. Probably won't see Misson there. Misson could go around the outside. Could... Oh,
That was a squeeze.
that was a squeeze. I think Misson's going to look for it. Oh, he holds back. Oh, and he looks for it again. Samwise doing a great job of defending here, but Misson might have the run once again. And Samwise is just going to move across. If he squeezes him and spins himself, that's his own fault. Because that is poor racing, but he's doing a great job of defending at the moment. Misson might go for the outside. That'll be a warning. Can't get it done. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, gents. If you're missing, you have to pit, don't you?
I think that is the sensible play. The thing is...
You mean he has to go into the pits, or does he have to pit Samwise?
Well,
I mean, both are strategies for getting past.
Yeah, but one's going to give you the pen and the other's not. Look,
Fair
pitting
enough.
into the pits would probably be the best option. It's probably a little early, but I think it's going to benefit him in the long run. And then if he's got that gap, he can manage his tyres to the end. But if he does come back into a battle with Samwise, his tyres might be gone. So he's probably considering all those things while doing 100 other things. Oh, Johnson deep. Misson's just following Samwise's lines, basically mimicking them. Might get the Slipstream the better run. Doesn't get the run, but Slipstream's going to help him out. Samwise knows inside. Here we go again. Oh. Misson's going to look for the switch back. Uses all the curb. You can do that there once you touch the grass. It is a warning. Samwise can't move across because he knows Misson's there. Misson look to the outside. Going to go for another switchback. Get the better exit. And he's going to do it again. He's done it for the past 3 or 4 laps now. He's got the side-by-side once, but it's always getting... What's the word? Squeezed. That's the word. By Samwise. So he's going to look for it once again. Maybe he needs to switch things up a little bit because Samwise is expecting the switchback now. And I think... Oh, he just scrap what I was about to say because that's not going to happen, but... Johnson's just holding back. If you're Johnson, you probably should pit to try and get out of this mess because he can definitely get past them both. Maybe not Misson, but definitely get past Samwise once Misson gets past. So, interesting to see how Johnson handles this. So he does have that 15-second penalty, so he may as well try and serve it now and get into some clean air and make up that time, make up the positions later in the race. Just under 40 minutes to go now.
It does seem like Misson has gone to the Alonso school of making your car very, very wide. And he's very effective at just closing it down right where it needs to be.
Yeah, it feels like they're both just costing each other time at this point, though.
Oh, dive.
No.
Looked to it. It could be possible, but Misson does like playing the long game. He's probably not doing too bad of a pace behind Samwise with the slipstream. See if he can nail his run. He needs to try and double bluff Samwise. Just try and pull something out that he's not expecting. Make him think he's going for the switchback and then stick behind. Looks to side by side again. It's probably going to look to the outside again. Needs to mix things up a little here, missing. And I think he is going to. Loses the rear a little bit, though. He can gain the time, though, because Samwise is just trying to park it on those apexes, and it's losing him a lot of time. Might be a decent time for missing to pit now. He's lost that time. That might be another warning. A bit too much cutting of the curb. They're still going to keep at it, though. Tyre wear is... depending on the car, it's a bit around here. I know some cars can easily manage the tyres. Don't know what the Nissan or Merc is like. Let's go on board. This is the view I've been waiting to see. Just what Nissan's doing.
It's really... Even if your home's here, depending on how much time he feels like he's losing, getting in is still maybe the right move. Because he's just... feels like he's just bleeding pace. He's definitely capable of a lot more.
He knows his race with Ricciotti is all but over. He's 11 seconds behind, so this is his race. If he pits early and Miston and Johnson just put in the laps, he's just going to come out behind them, or behind Miston for sure, not behind Johnson because of the penalty. But I don't think realistically he has much chance of moving up unless somebody ahead gets a penalty.
Yeah, you might be right. It's a bit damned if you do, because it feels like even a slight undercut might be enough to immediately lose a position, so... Does he have to try and hope that they both go in on the same lap? Or does he just run his own race and run it out of fuel and get the next set?
I think what Samwise has to do is just wait for these two to blink, because if he does pit now and they keep going, they're going to make the time up on him within, I'd say, 4 laps, because their pace is, both these Nissan's pace are very good. So what Samwise needs to do is wait for them to both pit and then pit the lap after to try and lose as little time possible, try and nail his in-lap. I think that's the only chance he's got. He doesn't have to worry about Johnson. My brain needs to keep reminding myself that he's got that 15 second. He'll serve that under his pit stop, so it'll be at least a 45-second pit stop. So 15 seconds behind. Don't know where that would put Johnson. Looks like it would put him. Have to see how close Chalmers is off Viney, but 6-12 put him around P15, 16, around there, 17 maybe, seeing how far Bendick is, probably about 15, 16. Misson once again. He looks for it. He just hasn't had the luck at the moment, Misson. He's got the runs, but Samwise just has all the answers right now. It's going to squeeze him to the left. Misson's going to look around the outside. Has to use all the track. Needs to let Samwise go again. Maybe try... And he's going to... Oh, he had his nose in there. He knows it's possible, but Samwise just goes, funny that. Yeah, you can't pass. So, I think it's a good time now. Misson has to pit. He's going to keep going, though. He's just going to ignore what I'm saying, I think. He's very close to, I would say, a drive-through. He's cut quite a few of those corners now. I'd say he's probably on his second warning. So there we go. Just giving you an idea. Misson's best 34.4. Currently doing 35, so he's definitely got the pace to get past Samwise. It's just being held up way too much at the moment.
I think that slow pace is helping him avoid penalties at the moment as well, because he's not really gaining any time on what would have been his fastest lap. So he might be lucky in terms of avoiding a couple of not penalties, but track cuts.
And it's worth pointing out Ricciotti has taken his pit stop. McIntosh is in at the moment. Neighbour in, Cheviot's in. So a few going down. Yeah, I mean, look, Misson, pit, just get out of this, mate.
Yeah, he's got to. I know he's pretty smart when it comes to his strategy, so I'm sure he's got something planned that's just going to fool us all. Good exit. Oh, nearly tapped Samwise there. Let's see if they're going to go side by side. He's going to be forced to go wide again because Samwise will squeeze him. Once the inside goes wide, that's possibly a track warning. Don't know what they're like. Might not be because he's done a fast lap. Looks to the outside this time. Wonder if he can get it done. Oh, and squeezed by Samwise there. Well played there from both drivers. Please, Misson, just put us out of our misery and pit. Oh my God.
And to be fair, we're saying squeezed, but Samwise is doing absolutely everything above board.
He is.
He's taking defensive lines that he's absolutely entitled to take. He's not pushing him off the track or anything like that. He's just saying this is my bit of track that I'll have. You have to find a different bit. Not
Clean hard racing. That's all it is.
Well,
yeah. No, I'm sure we would be watching other battles, but this is. We can't really take our eyes off this battle at the moment. Or close again.
Gibbons and Floyd in the pits. It'll be an interesting one to see how that mixes it up.
See where Gibbons comes out in comparison to Jacobs and Gafford, and maybe even Baldwin, depending on if Baldwin makes a mistake with his pit stop. Missing once again. I think I've said Misson's name way too many times now. Johnson goes wide, loses time. Samwise wide, but keeps it on the curb, so no warning there. Looks to the outside. Wants that better exit. Samwise knows what he's up to because he's seen it for the past 8 laps now, at least. So let's see.
It's one of those things as well. Holmes covers the inside. Misson decides that he doesn't want to follow him this time, but then she gives up the toe. Which, to be fair, gets too close to the brake. To be fair, the toe has been a significant factor here. And in terms of best laps, yes, Misson's has been quicker, but only by a couple of tenths. Holmes has done a 1:34.7 in the laps that he has been able to do.
Please pit, Misson. Please pit.
He does.
Thank you. He does. Finally. Right. So we can jump onto a different battle now, but just keep an eye out for where Misson comes out in comparison to Samwise. Rashudi now fighting with Cheriets once again.
He tried the undercut and it didn't work apparently because he was within about the same amount of time behind Serbic before the pit. So he'll be frustrated with that coming out behind him again.
Yeah, maybe best you can hope for is he got some big gains on his tyre pressures and that counts for something, but we will see.
Oh, that's chewy. It's very wide. It's going to be a warning. I think Rashudi's just going to play. It's just going to die really quickly. Rashudi is going to play the long game, I think, with Cheriets. Maybe try and run him wide, get him those drive-throughs if he can.
Big question is, has Holmes gone into pit now? And he must have. No, he hasn't. He's currently in P4. Gafford is in. Let's see if Holmes responds to the earlier pit stop. I would have thought that he would, and I mean it's bang on time if you set yourself up for half. There it is. Pit stop in.
So that,
avoid the wall.
Oh, that's close. So he did react to Misson's pit as I thought he would. Johnson comes in as well. It's not going to matter though. 15 seconds. Let's wait and see.
Smith has been on an absolute tear. He's gotten himself up into P10, however, he hasn't pitted yet, so there's a few more to go. So we'll see what happens as he continues his last to first challenge. Yes. Cheriets, Rashudi. It's, I think, going to stay spicy until the end. One way or another.
Misson just coming into the final sector now, last 2 turns.
That's a good point.
It'll be interesting to see where Samwise comes out. This is the most frustrating part of this pit lane because you can see the car coming and you're just not allowed to go faster. I think Misson will have him. Oh,
They do. Here he comes. Oh no, I think Holmes is ahead. And ahead by a fair bit.
Wow. So he has timed that absolutely perfectly. However, Missan's on those warmer tyres, not by much though, but this is going to be a race to the finish. Who cannot get a drive through first?
So, what I'm interested in is Missan had an outlap of 2 minutes 30. So I'm curious what Holmes puts in. They have slightly different pit boxes. That'll make a small difference. But, yeah, and it may also put to the test the idea that Holmes actually has, or his tyre pressures were well out of the window. Because he should have been able to correct that under the pits. Temps all the same. We're not seeing any rain or anything like that, so we'll be as is till the end of the race. Now, obviously, this will be coming in with better temperature tyres and pressure tyres. So, natural that he closes up a bit in this first flyer, but let's say 2:30 was Missan's outlap. Let's see what Holmes can pull off, and that'll give us a first test.
Both a bit wide there. So in the first stint, Samwise had all the answers, which means the simple solution for Missan is just to ask some different questions now. See if you can find a way past them, some unorthodox way, without maybe messing both of the races up.
That's it. Yeah, pit boxes actually must have been in very different positions because Holmes only had a 155 outlap, which means his pit box was a lot further down there. Grid. Sean Jacobs into the pits, as is Justin Clayton and Tom Sanderson. So, all coming through.
Sam. No, and he didn't quite send it.
Having a big think about it, that is for sure. I do want to catch really quickly Smithy. Oh, okay. I was going to watch him overtake Chalmers, and he does so with Chalmers coming into the pits. Smith's still out there, still got a bit of fuel, and the car feeling pretty reasonable underneath him. Justin Clayton just come out of the pits in the Jag, right into the back of Neighbour, so that might be an interesting little scrap of its own, to be honest. With the colder tyres, it is going to take him a little bit to catch up. And right in the back of Holmes again. Okay, so
Gosh.
first full flying lap. Holmes comes across with a 135 flat.
You can say 155. That'd be a bit slow.
That was his last lap.
Yeah.
Because it was an outlap. So 135. So they're back into battling. And I think robbing each other of both of time. But as you said, JP, earlier, they're not really there to contest Raschuti. Indeed, they're a long way behind Raschuti now.
Oh, right back. Just interesting to note, Gafour is now ahead of Raschuti between him and Sherwich, so he must have lost a bit of time. That's the... I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's a good point. So we should just check out what's going on. So Baldwin is leading, but he's had a drive-through? Or is that his pit stop?
No, that's his pit stop.
That's his pit stop. Okay.
Excuse me, where is Gibbo now? He's going to
A long way.
come out in front of him by a fair way.
That's it. Gafour's just had an off. So, this is him. He's chasing Chewiets here.
Lock the brakes up, I dare say. Try not to hit Chewiets.
Oh, no. No, you can't do that, mate.
Oh, can't do that. I've done that. Don't recommend it. Ooh, let's force the Audi wides. Got it turned back around in a fairly safe manner. I think that's Jacobs there. Yeah, that'll be Jacobs, who's just slightly crapped himself, but that's okay.
Huh.
Maybe it's Scott, I'm not sure.
All right, so as I was saying, that's where we come back out. Okay, that was... Cannot go in that deep. Baldwin leads Gibbons by 11 seconds thereabouts. Jacobs is staying with him. 1.5 seconds behind McIntosh. Actually fairly close on it. So that's Jacobs just coming out of the pits, I think. is what's caused that. Chewits, we just saw, he's chasing down Floyd if he can, but more importantly for him, he's got Rashuti behind. Just had that bit of a bash on the side, will have cost him a little bit of tyre wear and some paint, but nothing too dramatic. The tap with Gafour. Rashuti, though, clear to fight. Gafour behind, and then we get back into Holmes holding off Misano that we've been watching for quite a long time. Smithy just finishing his pit stop, or has completed his pit stop. This is his outlap, so he's gotten himself back up into P15 after starting at the very back of the grid and a half a lap as well. Fowler going into the pits now as well. I am interested in this one. So this is Clayton in the blue light disco, pursuing Chalmers.
Jag power engaged.
Did he check his driver ID already? Or?
Unclear if his driver
No.
ID has been checked.
No.
It says Clayton, so I can only assume then that his driver ID is accurate. So he seems a little bit uncertain at the Jags turn in.
That's not quite true, Justin. The strat that works at the Jag is to not drive it.
Look, well, fun fact, it's not in the next sprint season, so you won't see anyone driving it. Instead, it's everyone's favourite, the Lexus, so everyone can start throwing a massive party with, I don't know, something, streamers, balloons, whatever.
I have no love for the Lexus, but some do, and more power to them. So Clayton, he almost got a run on Chalmers. It was half there. It looked like he couldn't quite get the traction down enough to consolidate it, but it's good signs for him if he feels like he might have another chance later on down the track. Johnson is pursuing Viney as well in the Nissan. Interesting as well, just noticing, as opposed to our last race, with the clearer skies, it does stay lighter for quite a bit longer, as it should. So, it's still actually pretty easy for the drivers to see. We're not into the full night tunnel, or we go to get the red glow of Viney's tail lights.
It just shows the attention to detail is absolutely immaculate.
It is very, very good indeed.
I mean, it's a good-looking game, but once you take it into nighttime, it just steps it up to a whole different level.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Especially when you get into, like, excuse me, Nürburgring or Suzuka. It is just something to behold. Just wow.
Very, very nice indeed. Moritz saying that only old people drive Lexi should go for it. I feel
I
like
think you should go for it then, Jamie.
I already drive a BMW, so but all the hate that we get in BMWs, I think really should go to Lexus.
Oh, do you? Well, that's not going to happen.
That is a whole nother level.
Well, that's not right.
Well, I'm not picking Lexus. That's just a fact. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm also not picking BMW. That's also a fact.
No, I think you should. You should ask your brother how to drive it, and then you should drive it.
Well, based on his experience, he doesn't know how to drive it yet. So.
Oh, fair. Oh, come on, missing. Not in a bad way. Just, oh, he looked at it again. Just, oh, it's wide. That might be a warning. If that is drive-through territory, that's not good at all. It's really weird, that corner. Even if you lift and brake, it's just not very nice when it comes to warnings. So, have to wait and see. Baldwin, 13-second gap to Gibbo's pulled that out once again. So he's just having a bit of a leisurely stroll for the next under 20 minutes.
And Gibbons doing 133.8. Baldwin just did a 132.8.
Oh yeah, just casual or whatever.
I mean, I suppose it's getting colder. Traffic might start to play into this battle here, as we see McLaren gets himself well out of the way. Hey boys, I do wonder what might have been if they weren't scrapping quite so hard for the entire race.
Oh, thought that's a blue flagged Audi, but that scared me.
Yeah, Frustock is trying to give them a fair bit of room, so he's still doing the right thing without trying to compromise his own race too much. There.
Malak pointing out in chat, battle for second is getting nice and spicy.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on Jacob starting to close this one up. Just gonna watch to the end of this.
Oh, Macintosh drive-through. Just popped up.
That'll be a track limits. So he's going to have to serve that. Let's have a look. Yes, this one's absolutely come up. I think you missed. You had to step away for a moment, JP, but Gafford took a big old dive onto Chariot into turn 13. And it was not going to work. They got side by side. No major damage, but yeah, just you can't make that move. Cost him a big old bank of time, but fortunately for Chariot, at least he didn't get impacted too heavily. He was able to continue on. Now it is actually starting to get quite dark. 17 minutes left in this race. It'll get darker still. 463 is off. That's Frustock. That's not the way you want to be facing. Someone else just has to avoid him. So let's have another look at what's happened here. Now
He by that McLaren, did he? Go for a dive and dead. Oh, got the extra tap on the end there for good luck.
And I think those two are actually racing, so that's not a blue flag.
Oh, okay. That's not blue flag. Oh, that has to be. No, not anymore. They're not fighting, but you know.
Yeah, it's not the way you want to see it done. Jacobs has gotten very close onto Gibbons. So this might be a battle to watch for a while. I mean, Holmes and Misson at some point something's going to happen, but I don't know when McIntosh inserts the drive through. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just about to say Janice is on the tip of her seat at the moment.
I think so. I think short of anything too crazy, touch wood, Gibbons is on for a very good podium position. The question is which step. Holding your breath. Take a few because it's going to be a while before we know the end result. For the moment, Gibbons doing a great job.
Can someone in chat just remind Janice every so often to take a breath? Otherwise,
Yeah, just... They're absolutely all doing a great job. Just so composed. Jacobs will just be kind of prowling and looking to see if there is any mistake. Gibbons not giving him any real opportunities. Smith up into P13. I might try and catch this really quickly because I think he's making a move on Viney at the moment. He's made a lot to stick so far, but the further up you go, the less inclined the drivers are to just let you through. And Viney looks like he's pretty happy with his P12, doesn't really want to give that up. Smith's best lap is a 1:33.7 though, so he will have that kind of 1.5 second a lap pace to really force a move. Question is where could he do? It does cost you quite a while waiting for the right opportunity. You can see car 140 Leonard's got. Picks up a 10-second penalty. Something's occurred there. Smithy getting a half nose in front. Knows that's not enough. Backs it out. He'll wait for another opportunity. A very sensible driver is Smithy, and that's why he makes these climbs back after a disconnection, which is what happened to him. without getting into trouble as he takes that position from Viney, and he'll scoot off into the distance. He's got a couple more seconds to try and hit up to Powell. Let's jump back. Flick my eyes back down. Holmes still holding off Misson. He's doing a very good job of it. Back into the cockpit, that's always a good view. Ooh, let's see. Jacob's getting every bit of rotation and then a tiny bit extra through turn 6. They're both kind of going toe-to-toe very comfortably with each other. A tenth separating them lap on a lap, give or take. They're continuing to open up a window to Floyd behind, who didn't have a best lap for him. 135.1 is a little bit below what he'd normally be punching at. Jacob seemed to be feeling a little bit unsteady coming into turn 13 that time.
To be doing extremely similar lines, so I'd say their times are fairly similar as well, just basically following each other. I'm sure there will be no team orders here other than fight, go for it, do what you want. Samwise still holding off Misson, that's close again within 2 tenths. So now it's a battle for P2 here, and then a battle for P9 further back, and a battle for P5 there as well by the looks of it with Shooty and Chewiets. A couple of other fights further back, Chalmers and Neighbour as well, as Jacobs just loses the rear a little bit, but he's okay for the moment.
I think barring a major oopsie by Gibbo, I think he has enough pace to cover Jacobs off here without making a major mistake. Touch wood, of course. Just don't want to jinx him, but he seems to be putting the car in all the right places.
Yeah, seems very smooth. And interestingly, feels like every now and again Jacobs is just getting a bit more rotation than what he really wants. It's just costing a touch. It's not much. But he does seem to be able to hold very, very smooth lines. That's a touch better again. But they've been very evenly matched. Their qualifying times are very similar. Gibbons certainly, I think he's about a tenth higher, which is enough for an entire grow of the grid. As it has been for most of these races. Moritz, very few DTs. Oof, we'll see. Again, see Jacobs, it's just, again, just turning in a bit too much on him. But that's okay, he's balancing that very nice with the throttle. Let's have a look for a moment. This one started to open up. So Neighbour, Chalmers and Clayton have all gotten stuck into each other a bit. Gaps, there's a bit of room in that gap, but not much. Smith has gotten himself past Powell. He's now got a 9-second gap to close down Misson and try and get himself back into the top 10. 9 seconds in 9 minutes. Feels like a bit of an ask. But wouldn't that be some spice? Misson's pursuing Holmes for the entire race. There we go, Chalmers off.
Taking the esports line.
It's down approach. Kind of just tell in the background there that Clayton's car was just giving a hint of drift all the way through turn 3. So let's have another look up this grid. It's Johnson on Viney. Let's give them just a quick show, see what's up.
So we're down to 8 minutes, and Smithy got the gap down to 8 seconds. So he's, I think he heard you and thought to himself, well, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
See what he can do.
It was almost 2 seconds a lap quicker than the guys ahead. These guys are really holding each other up now. They're almost into the 136s.
Yeah, it's just Samwise. I'm not saying it's all Samwise, but he's the main issue at the moment. It's just really holding Misson up, and Misson both got the pace. Well, at least Misson does. Maybe Samwise is lacking a little bit at the moment. Maybe just tyre pressures are still wrong, or maybe his tyres are just worn out, graining too much, or just overheating possibly. So there's a lot of things that could be causing Samwise to slow up here, but Misson doesn't quite look like he's on him as much as he was in that first stint. As to say that he closes the gap. Looks for the better exit, does get it. Samwise is obviously going to go to the inside. We saw that coming more than we saw the 7-day lockdown coming today for Victoria. Ooh, looks to the inside again. He's going to try around the outside again. Got the better run once again. I've said that too many times, but he's got it done. Just can't. Oh, gives him a tap there. I think that was a tap of bloody hell, get a move on, mate, or I'm going to get past eventually.
I mean, to be fair, they've been on each other for about 30 or 40 minutes, and that was the first time they've made contact.
Yes, that just shows. Misson might go around the outside again here. Oh, had to go on the brakes a little bit longer there to get it held. This is
Smithy
just,
under 6 seconds already.
Under 6 seconds. This is just holding them up so much. Maybe Smithy could catch him by the end of the race. I'm not sure. He's closed up 2.5 in the past lap or two, so it looks like it could be possible for him to get back into the top 10. Misson needs to make his way back up again. I think that's Smithy there in the background.
I think it is indeed. And something that jumps out, JP, you mentioned it earlier, Holmes, the gap to Raschuti was too big to climb, but with all of this scrapping, it means that they're really out of any kind of position with Gafford and McIntosh ahead as well. So they really have been, yes, the gap was there, and yes, the next car up the track at that point was out of reach, but I think they've really put themselves out of reach with other drivers as well. So, but to be fair,
Yep.
Holmes doesn't have to give up a position to anyone. It is not his fault that he's in front. He's very entitled to keep that.
He's not doing anything wrong. He's just driving his race, and his race happens to be holding up Misson, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's it. I think this gap here has opened up a fair bit, actually. So something's happened in that last sector, because the gap from Jacobs to Gibbon has gone from 0.4 to 1.2 seconds. And without the tow, Jacobs' opportunity at going to P2 may have been taken away from him.
Can we ask Scout to bring up our AWS striking distance?
Yes. I'd
graphic?
like that. Oh, we just loses it a little bit there. Don't know what his gap to forward is. I can assume it's not yet. 8.5.
Eight.
Smith, drive through. We've jinxed him. Oh no. Oh no. We don't talk about that.
I'm gonna say that's 87 in chat. That's his fault, because he was the one who was pointing it out more than
Yeah.
you were.
At 7, yeah, that's your fault. Oh no, it's Simon. That's your fault, mate. Don't be doing that.
Unfortunate. Keith asked if the rear toes are going bye-bye. It might be the case. It does feel like Jacobs has been giving everything he can out of this car to get it. And he might have given more than what it is capable of again. Just
Can be a little wild.
you can definitely trade tyre life for time, but eventually you have to pay that toll.
Just getting a little bit of understeer there, trying to push as much as he can. 1.6 now to Gibbo. Gibbo just getting a nice, good taste of that dirt.
Yeah, gap opens up a bit more compared to where they were on the last lap, so feels like Gibbo might have finally broken the back of that scrap.
So Gafford in 7th with a 10-second penalty has McIntosh behind them 10.4 seconds. So McIntosh will be wanting to push up and trying to just close another second or so to bridge that gap.
Yeah,
But
it's
Kapua is still comfortably first in
Yeah.
the cover class.
He'll just be trying to close that gap, but missing though. Oh, Samwise goes wide. That might be a warning. Don't know how many he actually has. I know he's cut a couple of corners. Probably not enough for a drive through though. There we go. 36-1 there from Missing. So really being held up though. That Smithy in the background there has got a drive through to serve though. He's going to have to serve at this or next lap. I'd say he's probably going to serve at this lap to get it over and done with. And then they've got another 7-second gap to Powell. So Missing and Samwise are just in their own part of the track at the moment, so they can really give each other a good run for their money. Try and just fight till the end. See Missing using all that curb there. That's probably the advised line. I know it's what I was taking. And I'm in a car that doesn't like curbs, so he's looking for it. Samwise just doing some great defending here. If he can defend it for the last lap or two, not sure actually how long there is left. I'm not sure where Baldwin is. 449. Where is he on the track? He is. Where is he? Around the outside again, Missing maybe. Oh, he'd look for it. There goes the rear.
Yeah, copped too much curb, unsettled the car way too much. 4.9 Baldwin, I think, is just coming into Tremonto now. So,
okay, so there will be another lap then after this. So, Misson's been given a bit more time. Might be a Hail Mary, and might not be a Hail Mary for Samwise, but we'll see. He's just going to keep parking it on those apexes. 35.9 there as we see for Misson. Not sure what Samwise's doing there. Smith serving his drive-through now.
Jacobs has gotten back. Gibbo made a mistake, I think, last lap. Did a 1:35.4. Lost a big chunk of time.
Mistake. This is not what Gibbo wants. This is what Jacob wants though, but still.
Right, man. Neither is on
There
the
we go. Final
Give it
lap.
all you can.
Just confirming it there. I was about to say it, but race engineer man has confirmed it for me. Final lap now, so Jacobs is going to have to absolutely give it everything he's got if he wants that P2.
He has pulled that gap down. That looks closer. 6/10. It's one last dance. Any big opportunities here, we will keep a half eye on Misson and Holmes. We'll come back to it once these two cross the line one way or another. Jacobs getting it really nicely hooked up this lap. Close the gap down again.
Good exit. Wow, this could be close. Slipstream and everything at the moment. Gibbo's very good under pressure though. Makes very few mistakes. Just getting a good exit there. So is Jacobs though. This is going to be close. Gibbo might need to start just parking it on the apexes a little bit. Brakes a little early. Still goes wide. Jacobs makes a mistake too, so
It might be his opportunity gone.
I think that's his possibility for that position is now over, unless he can pull out something amazing in the final sector here, which he could if he can get that car under control. Good exit from both. Gibbo not going deep. Jacobs gets a great entry though. Good exit. Baldwin takes a win. I think that might be his first win or second or so now. It's very well done to him. Very consistent. Just been unbelievable the whole race. But got to focus on these two. So Gibbo gets it done. I thought he wasn't going to have it there, but he's pulled it off. McLaren 2-3 right there.
Handle the pressure.
Oh, again.
Come on, Misson. Ooh, there's a bit of
Misson wants this, and he's
Bit of
giving
rubbing.
it his all now. Samwise probably going to squeeze him into the inside. Looks to the outside again. I think Misson's going to just throw it at him now if he's got a track warning to spare. I'm not sure whether he does, but he's going to give it a red hot go. And he goes around the outside, just way too deep there. I
bit
think that's it.
optimistic there.
Yeah, I think that's it for him. Gave it his all though.
That's it. So props to Holmes. He did hold off for so long against some very good attacks. And props to Nissan on Misano, which is so difficult to overtake. He got so many opportunities. It's not the track to be able to convert on it sometimes.
No.
And just to get back to it, McIntosh managed to close that gap to 9.4. So,
So
he
got it off
within
the full.
penalty
Well
zone.
done.
Good chase at the end there by him.
Very well done, Smith, getting himself back up to P18 after starting in the pits plus a drive-through. It's a very solid run. Seeker4 has issued an apology in the chat as we end that one. There you go. Baldwin, Gibbons, Jacobs take the overall and the pro class podiums. Gafford, Powell, and Johnson will take the pro-ams.
Green light. Go, go, go.
And if I hit this, then this, then this. We can also see in the M. It was Fowler from Bendique and Matthews in the AM class podiums. So really well done. Janice can take her breath now.
She can.
Some excellent, excellent driving. And really quite a clean split as well. In fact, both of them tonight. Very few incidents. And very good to see that. So, yeah, some outstanding work. Looking forward to see how this split goes for the next couple of weeks, which is about all that's left in the regular season here.
Yep,
Just
only
Hungaroring and Spa, yeah.
Hungaroring and Spa left. So 2 rounds to go. Still got EU and NA on for Sprint Series tomorrow, of course, or today, or soon in whatever time zone.
That's it. Hungaroring next week. I am excited for that. Do enjoy
I
it.
am not.
No, I'm
Really?
not.
I like the Hungaroring.
Hungaroring and Spa are 2 of my least favorite tracks.
I'm
I'll
sorry,
I'll probably
Spa.
get
I'm
crucified
not.
from Spa one,
I
I
can't.
understand,
I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that.
but I just did not like that track at all.
That's
It's
fair.
fantastic to watch the Formula One racing. I just don't like driving it.
That's fair. It's not to everyone's taste, and that's okay. And I know that I'm unusual for really liking Hungaroring, but I just do. Either way, gents, I'm going to head to bed. That has been a fantastic night. Thank you, as always.
Thank you for the company, guys, and
No
thanks
worries.
everybody for watching. Remember to leave a like before you leave.
Yes. Do not leave without the like. Oh, there's a rhyme in there that I can't really think of right now.
No, no bother.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Cheers, guys. Have a good night.
See ya.